And I think today's going to be a bit of a chill day. We have this GUI framework that we've been working on for a bit. We kind of spent like a couple weeks on it, like a month ago. And I really got to get this shit merged. it's it's pretty like close to being functional. It's like aesthetically, I think it's kind of doing what I needed to do. We've been kind of using our image editor as like the test bed for this thing, right? So we got like it's like selectable list thing. We got scroll views with a scroll bar. We got text rendering. We got I think if I click this button, we've got like color picker. We got, sliders and stuff, right? So I can like do stuff like this. Wow, 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 wow. We got selectors that pop up in little drop, like when you click on this thing. Oh, that looks kind of ugly. What's the problem there? The frame. Yeah, that's not good. Okay, I gotta fix that. Wait, hold on. We gotta make note of that. Pop up in like selectable list pop up looks bad on scroll. But the plan for today is to try to get this shit like closer to being merged. So if we look at git log stat here, we have I've done some review of this thing. We've got 2100 insertions, 17 deletions merged. But we have another 5,000 insertions, 609 deletions to deal with. So I've been kind of just like picking at this thing, trying to get just like going over each widget piece by piece and looking at it and being like, do I think this is mergeable? And it's been kind of stressing me out, like kind of the amount of unmerged work I have right now. So today's happy hour, which will probably just go for, we'll probably just like, no mainstream today. We'll probably just spend the whole happy hour just like picking piece by piece at this thing. I see you have a color picker, but you have a nose picker. I've got 2 of them right here. 10 of them? Dude, I don't know if you could get like a thumb up there. Happy 3 hour, perfect. Yeah. Okay. So the process has been I go back here. I rebase from this commit. No, this is not the process. I want to do probably get diff tool from here to here. And I want to background this. And that's also not the process. Hold on. We'll figure it out. We want to go from probably the reviewed stuff. We want to look at anything that isn't reviewed yet. And let's see how that looks. There we go. Okay, so we pick a file. We pick a file. I can get my thumb up, but I'm wondering if I have a small thumb or a big nose. Holy shit, dude. That's crazy. Let's pick a file. Layout seems probably like a good one to look at. What are we doing today? We're trying to get our GUI framework merged. Look at our pretty GUI framework. Here it is. It's got buttons. It's got buttons. It's got float draggers. It's got let's go to like new drawing. It's got color picker. Wow. We're just like slowly trying to get that shit merged. Yeah, so what do you say we're gonna look at? Layout? Okay, so this thing's job is to take an arbitrary widget and put it in order, right? So the layout basically says like, I have widgets have like boxes that they get rendered into. Let's just like take the cursor, stick it here. Okay, that thing's there. Let's put the new thing here, put a new thing here, put a new thing here. I'm also building an IMGUI at the moment. Hell yeah, dude. I don't know if mine's immediate mode. I don't know if I could like quite call it that. It definitely does re-layout every frame, but I don't know if that means that it's an IMGUI. Because like I don't follow the same pattern of like I don't use like immediate mode GUIs. I think of them as like you do something along the lines of like, while true, like, I don't know, make like label hello, right? And then like button, some button, right? Like this is kind of how I imagine immediate mode GUIs, and then this says like if button do thing, right? Is kind of like do action. Is kind of like the pattern I expect to see in immediate mode GUIs. What I do is I do something that's more like make widget layout, right? And this gives me some sort of like layout. And in here I call like layout update, layout like render essentially, and then like layout get input or something. And this is like some action that I do, and then I like switch on the action and like do stuff, right? This is kind of like, so it's like kind of immediate mode GUI esque in that like I like the idea that like fuck it, just relayout every frame. Layout's cheap, rendering cheap. Like just do this every frame. Fuck it. But what I don't like about immediate mode GUIs is they have all of this like state tracking under the hood that needs to be done to make things work, right? And I'm like, why the fuck? Like I don't like the idea of like hiding that state in globals. So like I allow my widgets to be long lived and pull the like world for whatever data they need. So I don't know. I don't know if that's immediate mode or not. It's hard to say. It's more like a really inefficient stateful GUI. Okay. So this thing has a cursor. It can be laid out either horizontally or vertically. I guess horizontal seems like a better first word. I would still kind of call it immediate, kind of. Yeah, that's kind of how I'm like maybe, kind of, a little bit. What does this apply function do? He says, take this cursor. Oh, I see. This is saying like, give me the bounds of this widget that has this size and advance the cursor by that much. This is a bad name. This is a bad name. This is like cursor, like maybe apply is an okay name. We're like taking the current cursor and saying like put this thing in it. Like push seems almost better, huh? Take this box, give me a box of this size and advance the cursor. Push seems better than apply. Apply makes me feel like the cursor state isn't changing. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna call a push. But otherwise, this seems pretty reasonable. He's just like, give me this thing at the size, take my current position, slap the extra width and height in there, and then advance my cursor. If I'm going vertically, I'll go vertically. If I'm going horizontally, I'll go horizontally. Makes sense? Then we have the layout class. What is this guy doing? He says, I have a cursor. Makes sense. And I have a list of layout items, which are widgets and bounds. Okay. And I have a pad between items. It's weird that this lives inline in the layout. Like the typical pattern that I've been using up until this, like in other widgets, is that there's some sort of like shared styling between all of the same widgets of the same type. Like if I go look at like drag float, there's like all of this stuff is like shared between all of them. So like pixel size, color, corner radius, stuff like that. But I guess the reason that the layout has like an individual item pad is you might not want a pad at all. There are probably scenarios where you just want things to shove up against each other. Like I think I have a case somewhere where I draw like one like set of like if I put like a scroll view here and then like a little like bar between that has some sort of like style with it, and then like another scroll view, right? I think that in this case, like we want these things to be laid out kind of like directly against each other. So I suspect there are cases where we set an item pad of 0. Yeah, I see. This is in main of what? of our like entire application. This is holding. This is in the case where we have in our like top level widget, we have kind of like a sidebar. We have like a sidebar here, and then like our like main window. There's no padding between these, which I guess is pretty reasonable. Pretty reasonable. Fuck. Did I not save? Probably didn't. Or maybe I just didn't rename all the applies. There we go. Let's take a look and see if we think there should be some padding between those things. Like if yeah, that seems reasonable, right? The idea that like this sidebar is just like a hard cut here. Like what else would be there? Yeah, that seems reasonable. Because like this whole like view here is like technically a widget. Yeah, that seems okay. That seems okay. So we allow that to continue. We allow item pad to stay where it is. Focused ID. So I think that this is for when I like type into this box here. Why the fuck? Whoa, that's weird. What the fuck just happened there? Hold on. This has my cursor at the wrong spot. Text input in sidebar has wrong initial position. That's fucking annoying. But when I like click in this box and I start typing, basically like the widget needs to know that he is allowed to be focused. And so the layout says like, okay, which of my sub widgets is the one that's taking keyboard input right now? And when I, as a layout, get focus, I need to propagate that to my child. So that's kind of what that's for. So that seems reasonable. And then what the fuck is this? Max item size. Why? What is this for? Ah. I see. So we need to get the size of our entire widget. And it looks like our cursor only ever advances in X or Y. So this is like kind of like a lie. Our layout is kind of inherently one-dimensional. It feels like. Does seem that way. These guys get set to 0 no matter what. And then how are like when we render this thing, how do we calculate like the bounds of where we render? We just look at the child bounds, which are probably set in the update section. And he just does the widget, is this assuming that the top left of my widget is at 0, 0? Something about that feels wrong. If we put a layout on the right side of the screen, does everything just fucking break? Oh no, I see. We take the bounds of the layout and we apply additional offsets given our item position. Yeah. So if we're laying out vertically, our X position should just always be 0 with the way the code is set up right now. So I kind of want to do this. Yeah. And then here we can say like X is switch maybe we do this. So here we say like switch self direction. If we are advancing horizontally, we use the offset. But if we're going vertically, we just write 0. Our X position is always fucking 0. And then our Y position is just the inverse. Seems fucking reasonable to me. And then here, instead of calling self.x, we put like little brackets everywhere. And then here we just say like offset here. Oops. 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 Here we go. Okay. Reset self off equals 0. What the fuck am I doing? And then I don't know if I like single letter functions like this. I'm not sure if I'm super okay with that, but fuck it. I also don't feel like the cursor should be at the top of the file. If it's kind of like a private implementation detail, it should probably be at the bottom. Sure. And then surely somebody else is gonna bitch about that. Okay. What's he pissed off about here? Oh, fair. We do need to return the thing that we're returning. It's a really good point. Okay, and then here, when we get the size of our widget, what's happening here? So if we're going horizontally, okay, so I think what's happening here is we kind of like lay out widgets like this, and we have like some sort of like pad between them, and that pad is getting added to the end. So when we're asking for like the size of the whole box, we have to take like the current cursor position where the next item would go and subtract the item offset. That's probably what this is doing. And I think both of these just use offset here instead. And then this means that the max item size, this should be like, we need a good name for this, but if we have like, if we're laying out this way and we're putting in like objects that have varying heights, we want to keep like the maximum height, right? But if we're laying out vertically, and we have varying widths, we need a name that's like works for both of these, right? Like perpendicular, max perpendicular length. I feel like maybe. And here we can say like, depending, like if vertical, if layout is vertical, this is horizontal, this is horizontal, and vice versa. What the fuck does vice versa even mean? With, like, where does this come from? Etymology. First, dude, why do I think there's a P in there? Vice, like a change, alteration, alternate order. Okay. Versa, adaptive singular versus. Sure. Interesting. Why the fuck, like, why don't we just say, like, swapped? Okay. Neat. It's Latin. Okay, so that means that, like, everybody who's tracking the size here, needs to... I wonder if it makes sense to track this in the cursor. Because the cursor is kind of the person who knows about the layout direction. So it kind of like belongs in here. It just kind of means that the name cursor feels kind of fucking wrong. Right, and then here we can do like width, like size, width, size. Like total size. The cursor kind of feels like it's like a singular point. Kind of feels like that. So I kind of feel like this should live outside. Fuck it. And I guess we only probably have to think about this in a couple places. One is when we push a widget. we have to do something with it. So here we go, like, what are the current bounds? And then the max item size here, I guess we want to put this in a function somewhere. We want like some function to take the size of a widget, update perpendicular length, okay, which takes self as a layout, self probably actually, and a size. And he's gonna be like, check the cursor layout direction. If it's vertical, we want to update our, well, no matter what, we want to update the perpendicular thing. It's just in this case, I will say like new length in this case is size width. And if we're going horizontal, it's the height, right? Because we're doing the opposite of whatever layout the layout direction is. And then we just say like self max perpendicular length is equal to the max of max perpendicular length and new length. Boom. Boom. And then here we can just call self update perpendicular length with bounds size, I guess. Yeah. Seems good. And then whoever calls push again, just do the same shit. Widget size here? Oh, interesting. But here, we kind of don't actually apply it yet, but I think we should. What's going on here on update? On update, we iterate over every single sub-widget. And as we do that, we update their positions. And then this could theoretically fail. And if this fails, what happens? What happens? I guess like some widgets have new sizes and other ones don't. And that might be problematic. And so here, I guess the fact that we're updating our cursor inline means that we should update this inline. I'm okay with that. This will probably never fail ever in like in reality anyways, but theoretically, if you wanted to be like really good citizens of the world, you would have like error defer self cursor is equal to previous cursor, right? And like you would probably like restore all of the widget states as well. You would like make a new layout and do those all there, but fuck it, we don't care. Okay. How are you looking now? No field max item size. Oh, true. This is not max perpendicular length now. It initializes to 0. Okay. And another one on reset. All right. No field name max item size. Yes. So now this is max perpendicular length. Boom. Okay. No field Y. Oh, true. So we'll just. What is this doing? Available size. What is this even for? Do we use this anywhere? So we say like, given a layout, our layout has some like is in some container. How much room is left? Do we use this anywhere? We use it here. Of course. But do we use it anywhere externally? No. So if I just like make this private, that doesn't cause any problems. Okay. And so the idea here, I guess, is that like you have some like text that like wants to wrap when it hits the edge. And so if you like resize this layout, you want to make sure that the text now knows that it needs to wrap here. So this available size, what the fuck is it doing? He's saying, if my container height is greater. Oh, I see. This is stupid. This could be a lot simpler. This is container size height saturating sub of the cursor Y position. That makes sense. And this is wrong. That was supposed to be height. I think we did it that way because we forgot that saturating sub exists. That's so much nicer. Because these are both U31? Yeah, makes sense. Sure. And then, okay, sure. So where the fuck were we? We wanted to make sure that all of these changes didn't like severely break anything. So we're just gonna do a quick little sanity check here. Looks like this layout's working okay. I know that the color picker uses its own layout somewhere, so we do this. That looks okay. I guess like the fact that the object properties are working also indicates that things are okay. What uses like a big layout here? If we just like start like spamming additions to this layout, yeah, everything looks probably pretty fine. Everything looks pretty fine. These leaks, I assume, are like our test code from yesterday, not related to anything in the GUI, but we are gonna have to double check that as well. Okay, so we have made it through the first few lines here. Layout item, nothing crazy. He's got where the widget lives as well as the widget itself. He's got a vtable. Looks like everything is implemented. Hell yeah. On initialization, we say item pad is the only interesting thing about us. Okay, and then typically we usually have like a function that looks like this. Like this. Like, I think like this. Type and allocator item pad U31. Do I think that this is any better or worse? No. I see. So this is probably why we don't have that function here. It's because this init function is fine. Like the users of this guy, that's totally reasonable. Okay, sure. Why don't we always do it like that? Because in the case where we don't pass in the type, things, in some cases, the types can be auto-resolved. Sure. And all this guy does is he says, let's specify these things. Sure. Why do we do them like this instead of like, why do we have this init function at all? Because we want to force people to initialize this thing because he expects to be heap allocated. Right. Because that makes it so that when we use him as a widget, he can just kind of cast himself as the context pointer. Sure. That makes sense. Because then on dinit, we unconditionally destroy self. So I guess if we made all of these guys default parameters, a user, me, the only user of this thing, might assume that it's okay to type like layout action, like item pad is unpad. They might assume that that's an okay way to instantiate this thing, which is not true because we expect it to be heap allocated. Now, the question is that an okay assumption to make? Should we assume that? I think we have to assume that when we turn ourselves into a widget, if we want to allow the widget system to own our layout, which I think is fair. Okay, sure, I'm okay with it. On dinit, what's going on here? We say deinitialize all of our child widgets, free our array, destroy ourselves. Sure. On reset, interesting. So we kind of have a little bit of duplication there, but that's fine. Does anybody actually call this? Yes. Right. Occasionally we have like a layout that lives somewhere, and like we can't dynamically update the contents that easily, so we just regenerate it, and in that case we reset the layout to do so. Sure, that makes sense. That makes sense. This is fucking confusing. We have a function called reset in the widget API, and the job of reset in the widget API is to say, like, pretend that you are a new widget, i.e., like, reset your text box state and stuff. But, like, there's also a reset here, which is not, like, just pretend things are new, but it actually, like, fucking wipes the layout. I don't know how much I like that. This probably being named clear makes more sense. Just kind of hand wavy. Okay. And it looks like that was only used in like literally one place, so we're probably chill. We're probably chill. And then I think that this feels kind of weird too. Feels like this feels better. Clear and free is probably also okay. Yeah, clear and free is probably better. Otherwise we're chilling, sure. deinit just calls deinit, that makes sense. We just need to adapt the like generic API. Sure. Push or deinit widget. So this says, we give us a widget, we promise at the no matter what happens, we will make sure that this widget is in the right state. Either we take ownership, or if we can't take ownership, we'll delete it. That makes sense. That makes usage of this thing kind of simple. We get the widget size, we push the widget into the cursor, and then we append it, and we update the perpendicular line. Nothing crazy there. And then on update, we kind of do the same shit here, huh? Like all of this, I guess this update is different, but this is also kind of different. Yeah, okay, sure. This is fair to be duplicated, I guess. It feels, is there like a way to, like, is there a common thing we can do here? If we pushed this with empty bounds, then updated it, does that make more sense? That's kind of ugly. I don't know if I like that. It's a shame that these seem so similar, but they're like just different enough that like I like the reason I would like to keep them the same is not just some sort of like arbitrary rule, no like arbitrary dry around here, but it does seem like we want the state to be consistent between an update or like a initial set. We want to be in a valid state in both cases. That feels kind of fucking weird. I guess I'm not really sure if we actually need bound set here, to be honest. It might be that like since update is always called before render, that like we might not have to track all that state here. It might just kind of work if we were to push a bounds of like bounds null or whatever, like some sort of like 0000. Code consolation after happy hour. We are not done the code consolation, but I think today I just want to focus on getting this like GUI stuff in. So I think that I'll probably just do an extended happy hour on this GUI stuff because it's starting to stress me out the amount of like code that's piling up that I haven't merged. So I just want to get it done. I'm willing to take a hit on YouTube uploads to do so. Oh yeah, fuck it, we'll leave this the way it is. This is fine. Okay, input. We say, here is our default return. We do nothing. We iterate over all of our items. Fix me duplicate with render. Yeah, that's true. That's pretty true. Let's unduplicate that with render. So we'll say, child bounds. Given. Did I forget to finish what I was talking about a second ago? No, I don't think so. I think I said that I just want to do an extended happy hour because I'm stressed. So this takes in what? The like item bounds? like bounds relative layout, and then the layout bounds themselves. And this returns a new bounding box that is supposedly a sub bounding box of this thing. And that's just like, give me. Oh yeah, it's just like an ad. That's kind of nifty. Oh no, I see. This is. The fuck am I looking at here? So the top of our child is the top of the child relative to the top of us. Okay. The bottom is layout bounds top plus bounds rel layout bottom. Yes. Right. Everything is relative to our top left. Yes. And then so this is like layout bounds here. Everywhere we have bounds here. Left. And then item bounds is the bounds rel layout. Okay, boom. And so now this guy is like child bounds is child bounds. Item bounds and the layout bounds. And then this thing is the same in render. Nice. Okay. So we call set input state on this shit. What am I looking at here? So I think that on set input state, we have like the bounds of the widget, and its input bounds are like slightly different. I think it's like if you have like a layout like this, and the layout has like a scroll view inside him, you might have like a widget that kind of like goes past the bounds of where he's supposed to go. You know, you kind of have like fuck. You might have something like this, right? So like the widget is kind of like the whole box, but the valid input area is here, because like if you clicked over on this stuff, you wouldn't want that to be considered a click because it's like kind of behind. It's not in the view. So here we get the child bounds, and then we calculate the intersection with our valid input bounds as the input bounds, and then we pass the inputs in onwards. Sure, seems reasonable. Then we have some like focus tracking. So if the input, if the child widget was like, I want focus, please, we say, okay, unfocus the previously focused thing, and then we say, hey, parent widget, we also would like focus, and presumably on set focus, we then forward on what they say, because the parent might say, no, you can't fucking have it. Okay. And then if there was an action, then we forward the action as well. Sure. Nothing crazy there. Render is simple. We just render everything. Get size we already looked at. Reset widgets is just calls reset on all widgets. Makes sense. Focused, we only focus the one that's focused. And update perpendicular length we just wrote. All right. So this looks good to go if it works. It does not. Clear and free. This needs allocator. Yeah, it looks like we're fine there. Boom. Looks like everything's gonna work up. Let's pop open like one of these. Yeah, sure. Yeah, seems okay. Okay, so we get status, make sure that this is only layout stuff. Why did sidebar change? Probably because of some renames. Yeah, because we changed this from reset to clear. Sure. So we call this layout improvement, layout review. And then we rebase on this thing, slap this in here, then edit the reviewed GUI work, and git checkout whip source GUI source layout sake, I think. Let's go! One more. One down. A million to go. All right. What do we want to look at next? Rectangle? Sure. Okay, this should be pretty straightforward. So, rectangles are just blocks of color, blocks of a solid color, and I believe they have two ways that they can be drawn. They can either try to fill their parent, or they can be a fixed size. Does anyone in the world use fixed size here? No. So we should just fucking delete this. We should just, like, the rectangle will always fucking expand. And if you want to clamp this guy, you can wrap him in a box, which clamps him. Just, like, fuck that shit. That will make this whole thing simpler. Here we say that, we just lie about our initial size. We just set this to 0, 0 on off rip. Seems reasonable. I think that we kind of, initially we were trying to make it so that as we constructed our widgets, we kept track of the correct size because we wanted to get like our initial text wrapping correct. But I think that at some point we kind of said, fuck it, like just set your initial sizes to 0 if you want, and you only need to, how do I say this? You only need to calculate the size later on the first attempt at layout. I think that that's more reasonable. It makes a lot of things simpler when we do it that way. I assume this still builds. Nope. Right, because this guy's like pick a fill style, and literally no one uses this. Which will propagate. Okay, so here we unconditionally know to say self size equal available size. Boom. Simple. This guy filled. It looks like we've got the same fucking errors multiple times, probably from multiple apps trying to compile the same thing. Seems probably fine. Yeah, alright. Okay. So now we can actually look at this. So a rectangle has none of this stuff. He doesn't have any input to handle. He doesn't have any focus to handle. He doesn't have any reset to handle because it's literally just like draw me a fucking gray block. He does have to deinit. He does have to render. He does have to get size. Nah, all that's fair. What's he stashing? He's got like a renderer that he calls into. Sure. No like complicated shared state. Arguably, the corner radius for every rectangle could be the same, but I suspect that in some cases we want a like completely square rectangle, and sometimes we want the corners a little rounded. So, sure. And then otherwise, I assume this is very simple. He's literally just like. Actually, I want to make sure that everything that we import is used as well. Yeah, this is all used. Cool. So on initialization, we're just like taking my shit. Deinit, we destroy ourselves. Sure. Do we have any internal state to worry about? No. All of that can just go away. Size, return size. Update, we update our size. Sure. And render, we literally just say. Does our size matter? Oh, it does because we have to return. On layout, they're going to ask us what our size is, and we have to tell them that we tried to fill it up. Sure. Makes sense. Makes sense. And then I wonder if update and get size should be the same API. Then we wouldn't have to store it. Oh, that's annoying. I kind of feel like it should be, huh? That would make a lot. I'm sure that we need to store the size anyways for other people. But it's kind of like implicit in the bounds. It's kind of implicitly stored in like whoever calls us with the bounds. Fuck it, whatever. We'll leave it the way it is. I think that could maybe be a future optimization, but I don't think it matters. And then on render, we just call render. Cool. And I guess we just double check. I mean, I don't think anybody was using the non-fill type, so I don't think it should be a problem, but it's worth looking at. So this would be used in like stack widgets. So like again, that color pop-up is like a good thing to look at here. The background of this thing is the rectangle. Where else do we use that shit? I guess like the background of this whole sidebar is also one big rect. Yeah, I think it's fine. I think it's fine. Rect. Let's rect with K. Not that it matters, I'm gonna immediately fold this thing, but I thought it, so I had to do it. Okay, so we fold this shit into the GUI stuff. And then we edit the review section and git checkout, whip, source, GUI, source, rect-zig. All right, progress is being made. Let's look at this. We got up to 2,500 in here and 4,600 here. I think we that's 1,000 lines down, baby. Is it? No way was that 1,000 lines. No. I must have just misremembered. It's more like 100. Right? We only added layout, 240 and 78. So we did like 300. Let's go. We're making progress. Okay, what's next? Stack selectable list. Selectable list is gonna be hard. Scroll view is also gonna be hard. Text box is gonna be hard. I'm just trying to dodge. Is GUI text not done? If GUI text is not done, we should do that. Yeah, it doesn't look like it. All right, GUI text. Dude, come the fuck on. If I type GUI text into this box, you really think I want text box and not GUI text? Shame. Okay, GUI text. This is kind of our like helper class used everywhere for just putting text on the screen in a specific location. So we kind of like, this guy is not technically a widget. He doesn't conform to the widget API, but he kind of like provides functions that helps other people conform to the widget API. So like label.zig is like a thin wrapper around this guy, right? He just kind of says, okay, I'm going to update my GUI text here. I'm going to get the size of that thing. I'm going to render him. But like, I think, yeah, why does this exist? Why don't we just use labels everywhere? Because the GUI text, using GUI text this way allows us to get more information out of him than if he was a widget. That's why. Because he provides, like, other people can like access his layout directly, which is useful for like text box and stuff, where the cursor is like moving around character by character. We need to know where each character is laid out. So this is kind of like it's like a widget, except everybody uses them concretely so they can look inside. Sure. So he's got shared state. He's got a text renderer, a TTF, and a distance field generator. I guess this is kind of all the things that we need to update our layout, probably. Self-regenerate. Yeah, so we lay out text using the TTF and we render it using the distance field generator. Sure, that makes sense. I kind of think this should be kind of the first thing that you see. This is kind of like the entry point to the whole file. Why is this public? Who uses this? Text box. Oh, sure. Okay, yeah, so the idea here is that the somebody passes in some form of text retriever, right? So when we construct the widget, we say like GUI text with like hello. That's like one option. But you can also do like GUI text like a function pointer to get some text, right? And that function pointer might look like, I don't know, return global value dot something, right? Or you might also have like, is that like a golden retriever? Yeah, sure is. It's exactly the same actually. You also might have something that's like uh text retriever who has like some state inside him, right? And then you can have like, maybe this is some sort of pointer to somewhere. Maybe this is like an app pointer or something, right? And then you have like get text in here, and this guy returns like app dot items 0 or something, right? I don't know. We're just kind of making stuff up. And then here we might recall this GUI text with like text retriever app is equal app, right? All of these things are like valid ways to use this. And then what happens is every time we call like GUI like text update, he's going to retrieve text in the way that we kind of pass it in and relay out if the text changed. So that's kind of like the job of this guy. And we have this public function get text, which basically says like, given this text retriever, figure it out. Like get the actual thing that we care about. And so there's all sorts of rules here. Like if it's a struct and it has get text, do this. If it's just like a pointer to a thing, just use the thing. If it's a pointer to an array, use the array. And if it's a pointer to a thing, dereference twice is essentially all we're doing here, I guess. And this is public because someone else might be wanting to look at the text that's kind of being wrapped by this guy. Ideally, we don't layout now because layout is going to change when we put whatever widget we're running into whatever container belongs to. It's convenient for users of us to have a valid layout though, so we just lay out nothing for now. Oh, sure. So our initial layout is just like fucking null. Then we just return all that shit. Sure, nothing crazy here. Layout, text layout, buffer. This is our previously laid out text, I guess. Which maybe people should just look at this instead of calling this get text. It does feel weird that this get text is public. Yeah, shouldn't he just call like... Is there a reason I don't do this? This feels a little better. There might be a reason why we didn't do it this way, but I don't have a comment here saying what it is, so I'm just going to assume that that's fine and then make this private again. What is build system you use? I mean, we're using Zig's built-in build system because we're working with Zig. Yeah. If you're asking for another language, I don't know. Build systems piss me off, but they're also necessary. All right, sure. So what happens here? We deinit our layout, we free the text, we deinit our layout render buffer, sure. On update, we say, did our wrap width change? If it did, we need to regenerate. Otherwise, did the text change? If it did, we need to regenerate. Sure. Fuck it. And then in self-regenerate, I assumed we stashed the text in the wrap width in here. Yeah, we duplicate the text. Throw it out. Cool. Okay. Seems reasonable. Our pixel size is literally just like, get me the width and height of our text layout, which I assume is in pixels. This better be in pixels. Yeah, it is. Pixels, yeah. Okay. Sure, on render, we have a fix me here saying that text should be relative to some baseline. True. I think that what happens right now is as we empty cup. No, it's not empty. You can see it. You can see it. There's some momentum in there. It's almost empty though. We're getting close. Yeah, I think what happens right now is like if we render a dash, we'll kind of get like a box that's like super clamped. And then as soon as we add like an L, it's like, oh shit, like I gotta grow up. When in reality, we should kind of know where like, and then if we add a G again, it's like, oh fuck, I gotta get bigger this way, which means that like the layout system, it seems like the layout system shouldn't really care about any of this. So like, we should probably always stash kind of like this size, maybe like the line height or something. Well, that's what this fix me is saying. But also, fuck it, I don't care right now. On regenerate, we relayout, we update our text buffer. Our error defer is good, so the text is not owned by us. We error defer. If we fail, we try to duplicate the text. We free everything we care about, and then we swap it in. Okay, cool. Yeah, there's nothing crazy here. This is fine. This is fine. What do we change? We just kind of shuffled some stuff around and removed the public. Oh, I guess we should check that reset of the text box still works correctly. So that's like, I guess if I move my cursor to the end here and then swap with things here. Something about that feel, yeah, something about this feels wrong. Specifically, like, first of all, on initialization, the cursor seems to be in the wrong spot. Ah, I know why that is. Okay, hold on. There's actually some bugs related to this. So, the cursor should start at the end of the text, right? Now, what happens here is because of that comment that we saw in GUI text, this comment here, where we say we don't lay out anything initially, it means that the text box, when he tries to set the initial cursor position, he can't do that reliably because he thinks that the text length on start is 0. Right? And so we want the cursor to kind of jump towards the end. So like, I don't really know what to do there. I don't know what to do there. It's like, it might be convenient here to start with duped text that's like correct. Like this might be convenient. Callers still may want to look at the text to, I don't know, do something. Okay, let's look at text box here. So he's looking at new buffer text line, yeah. So that will now be correct, which will help us diagnose how fucking broken this is. What's going on now? I probably have to put an ampersand on this, probably. And then actually, kind of weirdly, this thing might be mutable. This thing needs to be mutable, I think, for this to work. So I think we have to do this. We usually copy it and then use it like this. Because sometimes it has like an internal buffer that it updates on call. So we need to respect that. Okay, so now when I click here, the cursor's at the end, so that's a good improvement. And then when I swap to here, and back, see, I don't like that the cursor here is supposed to jump to the end, because it's supposed to behave like it's a new widget, but it's keeping the cursor position from the last iteration. Which means that, like, it's probably that the reset function here is getting called before update. Which explains why we were using it explains the change we made here. So we just undo that change, I guess. maybe here, instead of people accessing text directly, this is like the laid out text. And then maybe we have a way for them to just call like next get next text or something. Then we don't have to like expose like the text retriever and stuff. That seems kind of reasonable. So this is like taken myself. And we just return like, probably this has to be mutable because the self retriever has to be mutable. And we return get text of self text retriever like this. Seems reasonable to me. Then here we can say like get next text all in here. And then we should put a comment there because we obviously didn't realize that that had to be done. Okay, so now I go in here, I type a bunch of stuff, I'm at the end, I go here, I'm at the end, I go back, and I'm at the end of this one again. Hell yeah. So we'll say, note, well, we don't have to write note on every comment, that's fucking stupid. So we'll say reset may be called before update, which means that we cannot use self GUI text, but we need to use we need to retrieve the latest and greatest text and position ourselves at the end. At the end of that. Yeah. But blah, 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 something, which means that we cannot use self-GUI text. We need to position ourselves at the end of whatever text will be laid out on the next frame, not whatever happens to be laid out now. There you go. Seems reasonable. Okay. Which also means that in our to-do, we can say, delete that text box shit that was broken. Hell yeah. Okay. Sure, is there anything else too interesting here? Nope. Git commit -m. GUI text. Rebase. Bring this shit back down here. Fix up. Rebase again. Go to the reviewed section. Checkout. Whip. Source. GUI. Source. GUI text zig. Git commit amend. Git rebase continue. We're making progress, baby. Next file. Property list. Property list is maybe a good candidate. So this guy, his job is to basically do a layout of like key widget with some bar into like value widget. I think it's something like this, right? So he just kind of like, if we were to look at our output or our current implementation, like this is a property list here. We have widgets on the right side that are like our text box, our delete button, our like labels. And then we have this like section on the left, which is like the key. Now, arguably a property list is just a specialized version of a table, but we don't really have any other tables that we care about right now. And since this GUI framework is kind of designed as like something that we are implementing to make our image editor, then I think it's okay to have kind of like a specific property list in there. I think I'm okay with that concept. So I think we will leave this as it is. Make property list. He literally just passes the style on. This can kind of look, we can compress this. There's nothing crazy going on here. This actually kind of feels like one of those ones where this doesn't make any sense to exist this way. I think probably at some point we were returning a widget directly from this thing. But I don't really feel like there's any reason for this function to exist. I think it makes more sense to be an init here. We're not really saving any typing, and it's just kind of like weird and confusing. So we'll do it this way. So we do boom like this, and this is self here. Yeah, it's just kind of like it's just weird to have it that way. And then why is our dinit here not as like a widget? Probably because like on failure we need to dinit this thing even before we've like passed it into the widget system. Seems reasonable. I'm sure somebody's gonna be mad about this, so here we'll just say property list action init like this. That feels a little bit more natural in this case. This guy needs to return a pointer to self. Otherwise, he's happy. Okay. Okay, so what does the guy hold in him? He holds items. Sure, where items is a key widget and a value widget. He has like kind of like a global style. Arguably, if our layout layout class stored item pad somewhere in line, he should too. But I guess we'll kind of leave that for a case where if we ever need it, we'll move it out. But for now, we'll kind of like say, okay, there's a global style everyone conforms to. He's got the same focused ID shit as like the layout class. It's very similar. So he implements the whole API of the widget system, which is good. And on dinit, he goes, okay, I have every key widget, dinit that, every value widget, dinit that, and then destroy myself, chill, push widgets. So he just says, give me a key, give me a value, and I append that shit. And it's kind of interesting. Earlier we were talking about how the layout widget probably doesn't need to update his size or anything until update is called. And it looks like in this widget we kind of like we tried that. So now our push is very simple. We don't have to do any like update cursor and like update like width and height and stuff. We're just gonna like say like fuck it, all of that stuff is still 0 at this point. And we called it clear here too, which is good. Consistent naming. This time we retain capacity. I don't really think we should. I think if we're clearing this thing, we maybe should provide a way to clear retaining capacity if we think that we're going to keep the same number of widgets. But in reality, like I don't think any caller of this thing would expect that like there's no way to like reclaim memory that he used, you know? Okay, nothing crazy here though. He's just like, okay, reset everything, baby. Here we convert ourselves to widget, that's fine. Widget dinit calls just normal dinit, but he has to cast himself, that makes sense. On render. Ooh, that's kind of fun. Why is this like this? Bounds interaction. What? Oh, because the item... Right, because our items are widgets that have actions associated with them. So the bounds iterator needs the action type so that he can hold a slice to widgets that have an action type. That's funny. Interesting. And so here we go, like, just, like, let me rip each item in our thing and render it in the correct location. This is interesting. So he's essentially relaying out on every render and input handling, I guess. Which is just like a completely different approach than we took in like the other layout class. In the other layout class, we stored the bounds of each widget. But here we're just like, fuck it, we'll just like run it again. And is that expensive? What's going on in this bounds iterator? So he's like, here are my items. Here's where I am. I have a widget width, value width. Widget width I assume is like the parent. And value width I assume is the like right side element. Let's see if that is true. Widget bounds, yeah, okay. So here we'll say like total property list size, total, like, widget is equal to property list total bounds. Sure. And then here is like rightmost column. That's kind of self-explanatory. Okay. So here on each thing, we're like, okay, here's where the key can live. Here's where the value can live. Here's the widget itself. And here is our index. Today we're going to do 2 red squares. Peace, bro. Yeah. Luckily, everything we're doing right now is just review. So we actually don't have any bugs to hit, which is fun. Okay, so we say, here is, if we're out of items to do, we say we're donezo. We get the item out. We say, here is our key and value size, row height. Row height here. So this is the... I see. So if we take the maximum of the key and value. Sure. So we're assuming that these things are already know their sizes. Then we segment this thing into a left and right side, where I guess the value width is fixed and the key gets to take up the rest of the area. Makes sense. We calculate key area, which is like some stuff, value area, some stuff. And then we center the key only. What is happening here? Whoa, 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 whoa. This is fucked. So the value box, we say center this thing in our available bounds. Why don't we do the same thing for the key? Oh, we probably want the key to be on the left side. Interesting. So this actually isn't a generic table. Yeah, okay. So we did this because we want like all of this stuff to be left aligned, but this stuff to be centered. And we probably did that because this probably just looked fucking weird if we did centering on the key as well. Like we can test this, right? If we did like util center box in bounds of key area, key size, key area or something, I bet you this just looked fucking weird. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Okay, so this is like a very justified class to exist then. Because this just looks way fucking better this way. And it's weird. It's weird that it feels okay for this stuff to be centered, but not this stuff. That's very interesting. I don't really have like a good reason for that, but... Oh, so that baseline stuff we were talking about, that fix me in the GUI text, I think this is like a good example of where that kind of fucks us. So like here, because the J, I think, drifts farther down than something else, or maybe it's because here the Y in file system drifts farther. There's something where like the heights of these lines are like not consistent. And so you get this like kind of like weird spacing here between these lines of text. And like I think that you would expect that all of these have the same gap between them. So I think this is like a good example of why we should be rendering a consistent height, which means that we need to know where the baseline is. I wonder if we can fix that now. It's probably worth looking at. So let's think about this. Our text renderer, how does this shit work? He gives us like these like bounds for the glyph. And I think min and max here are actually relative to 0. I think that these can be negative. That's probably why they're I32s. So we probably actually have all the information we need to do this right now. I think that there's like a max ascent and max descent that we use to calculate the line size. Like line height here. Yeah. So there's like a maximum distance from the baseline to the top, and the maximum distance from the baseline to the bottom. So we can probably just say that like unconditionally in GUI text, our size is not just like the layout width and height. Or maybe it is, and the layout width and height maybe we lie here. Are these used like anywhere like in rendering? Because if so, then there'll be some sort of like weird stretch happening. They are used in render generation, but they're all just relative pix to clip. Like what's happening here? So we have some pixel position. And we're assuming that the height of this box is the whole clip space. Whoa. Why? What is happening here? So we have like some box that's tightly wrapping some text. Right? Like this A. Maybe we draw the letter first and then we draw the clamp box around him. And then he's saying, right. He's saying like, if I were to render this A such that it fills the whole world, how do I transform this to work that way? Okay, sure. And so I think that that's fine because we just size things to make sure that that lines up with pixel boundaries. Yeah, I think that's fine. Everything might just kind of work if our min y and max y here are just taken straight from the, like, we might be able to be like TTF, AGA, descent and ascent here. Maybe. I wouldn't be shocked if everything kind of just works if we do that. That'd be kind of convenient. Uh-oh. Oh, right, because the layout box can have multiple lines of text in it. Right? We might have something like this. In which case we need to update the min and max y as we go for each line. So where does that come from? In our layout helper, somewhere we must set those things. Gonna be a man who walks 100 miles. I see. So he says, merge these bounds with the glyph bounds. Ba-da-dum, 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 ba-da-dum. Okay. Where do we, like, advance line? This seems like where we would want to go. So we would want to set, like, our initial bounds so that the y is relative to the baseline with some sort of, like, movement up and down, right? We kind of want, before any characters go in, we still have this baseline at 0 and some, like, gap this way. And we want, like, an infinitesimally small line that matches this. Then every time we jump down a line, we have, like, a new baseline. We have, like, a new baseline here with this line gap. And then we want, like, the bounding box of the whole thing to, I guess, be kind of like this. That seems reasonable. So it means that when we have, like, these glyph bounds, we actually don't care about the y positions of the glyph in terms of how we position our, like, total bounds of our text layout. except for the fact that these bounds should always be contained within our existing bounds. So this is totally fine to be this way, as long as we preset the height to be correct. I think. So that just means on initialization, our bounds have to be derived from the line height. So we need like, what is like our layout box thing? It's min and max. Okay. Min x equals 0, max x equals 0. Min y is equal to TTF AGA descent, I assume. An ascent. And are these in pixels? Or are these in F units? Calc car bounds. This is in pixels. I see. So we actually need the converter here. Wake me up and okay, F unit converter pixels from F unit. So this is like this, I think. Okay, so let's just try that. Theoretically, not much should change. But here you can already see, this is so much better. Right? These now have like totally even spacing. Do we have the old version here? Yeah. Fuck. Like, look at that. That's way better. Here before you had like width, height, object type, source were kind of just bouncing all over the place. Here they're like very consistently spaced now. And now all we have to do is make sure that every time we advance the line, every time we move a line down, we need to update we just basically have to like increase the maximum y of our bounds by that amount. So we have like bounds, I think it's min y, I think we're going down, minus equals self line height. And I think that should do it. I guess we can put a note here. I mean, writing the comment is worse than just fixing it. Here, maybe we just assert that the new bounds dot min y is greater than or equal to than the existing bounds min y, and the new bounds max y is less than or equal to the existing bounds max y. And we'll just say, we should be tracking bounds, ascent and descent. Bounds should always contain a full line. New bounds have been merged with the bounds for this glyph. If this glyph is larger than the line height, we have an unexpected case. Writing the comment is worse than just fixing it. I need that tattooed on me. And then I just write the comment anyways. Okay. This is a problem. Okay. So we've done something fucking stupid. What unit is this line height in? F units. Oops. This is why strong typing is nice sometimes. Just using the fucking wrong units all over the place. Disaster. Oh, there we go. That looks better. How do we feel about this? Something I can't tell. Oh, that's interesting. So I think what's happening here is we are padding between lines, and no, it doesn't feel like it should be any different. Okay, I need to do some. We need to do some measuring. Something about this looks funny, but I can't tell if that's just my mind playing tricks on me. Like, is this distance different than the distance between two single lines? So, like, distance between these slashes is like 12 pixels ish. And this is more than that, but it might only feel that way because of the fact that the S is short. So can we test this by adding some slashes to something here? I guess we can do the same test in the names up here. Right, so we can do this. Right. Okay, do these feel different? No, I think the gaps all look the same size here. So it's probably just that the in here, because of the fact that res is kind of like shorter, it just feels like in these cases there's like extra gap when there's not. I was going to say that the capital S on the lower line to the upper line with the Y seemed further apart than lines that did not have the capital lower line. That was my perception of the stanza. Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. It's just that it feels different. Why is this so large? I think that we fucked this up now because we probably have too much padding around the lines now in the combo box. I suspect that here we were adding upper and lower pad to the thing, and now because the text is actually like taller, that's kind of fucked up now. So I think that we actually might want no height padding on the combo box now. Kind of feels that way. Right? We do height times pad times 2. Just like fuck that shit now because it's already kind of implicitly padded. And so I assume that somebody who positions the text in this thing also needs to fix that. So like probably on render in the combo box, we probably do sub sizes calc, okay, and presumably here we need to do where's like box height here. This is the height of the whole widget. I see. Okay, text bounds here. So we take the text center minus text center 2. Looks like we're just doing like some centering. So this might all just kind of work now. Hi, what's happening mainstream? What's happening pre-stream? No mainstream today, only happy hour. And we are working on what's the word here? We're just trying to get our GUI framework in. What was the fucking where were we just a second ago that it was looked fucked up? Was it Mask Mall? It felt like it was somewhere else. Yeah, we're just trying to get our GUI framework merged. So we're just going widget by widget, making sure that it doesn't look like shit. This feels okay, right? I feel like maybe the bottom pad feels a little low, but again, that's probably because of capital letters, right? If we put Bannister in here. It is just kind of like slamming up against the edge now. So before we had this, we had item pad times 2. So maybe item pad singular is the correct answer. We don't need to pad the top and the bottom. Yeah. I bet you it's this. Singular item pad. And I bet that that will look a lot less fucking weird now. So we clicked on mask multiple here. Yeah, that looks way better. So we want some padding, just not like, we want to act like we're in between two elements, not in between, not like a secret element above and below, I guess. Yeah, that looks better. Definitely looks better. And it's funny that it just happened to look okay before because the text that we were inserting was just like more clamped than it's supposed to be. I think that. Whoa, what's going on here now? Is that what it's supposed to look like? I guess it is. I feel like the pop up looks kind of shit. Like, something about that just looks bad to me. I can't really place it. Maybe it's that there's no pad between the left edge of the combo box and the text. It also could be that the difference between this background and this background is too low contrast. Something about it just looks like really like sharp on my eyes. And I think it's like this corner here looks like really sharp to me. I think that I'm not noticing the rounding here, which makes me think maybe it's too low contrast or the rounding is too small. Well, what's happening there? Oh, that's interesting. The yellow and blue selector there is kind of, this is unrelated to this problem now. I'm just like keeping a note for how I want to implement selection in the image editor later. But this is really interesting. You can see that they've kind of reversed. They've done something weird here. Look at this. So the top edge is tied to the left edge of the screen here, but the right edge is tied to the right side of the screen, but the right side's also tied to the left side of the screen. I wonder if whoever wrote this would see this and be like, oh, fuck. Or if this is like intentional. I mean, it's not bad. It's not like a problem. But this is the type of thing where I'd be like, if somebody noticed this in a program I wrote, I'd be like, ooh. I wish they hadn't noticed that. This is interesting, though. This like, because this actually looks fine zoomed in. I'm actually like totally okay with that. It just looks jarring to me here. Which makes me think that the corner radius is just not big enough. Is it using like the same one? If we go into Widget Factory, I think that's where this stuff lives. Let's look at combo box. It's the same by my eye. Good info, thank you. So he is just using the corner radius here. Are we using the right corner radius? Indeed, not round enough. So we could just like crank this motherfucker. Did you have traveling the background and border same color? Yeah, that looked kind of fucking weird to me as well. So that's obviously way too big, right? But does this look less shit now? Interesting. I wonder if there's a bug in how it's applied. Because, like, surely these are different, right? Like, is this really the same? Like, fuck. How do we do this? Maybe this. Like, you're telling me that this is the same as that? I guess it is. There's some, like, fucking stupid human perception thing going on here where the same amount of rounding here looks so much different than rounding here. You could also try shadow on the pop-up. Yeah, maybe. I think the padding between the text and the background transition was a good candidate, like this. We don't, yeah, it does, that does look weird, I agree. It's just weird that like this looks so round and this looks so not round. I guess like we kind of have this like. I wonder if I increase the contrast here, if it would also look better. I'm kind of curious about that. So let's go back to 5, whatever this was. And if we just say our background color 3, wherever the fuck that is, I think that's what we're using here for the pop-up background. If we just like kind of like really just this is background color 2, 3's in between. What if we go like brighter here? Hi, I'm new here. Is there anyone there spelled THEIR? Is there anyone who's experienced in software development so I can ask? So you can ask what? I'm sure there's lots of people who have done a lot of software dev here. Um, yeah, it's so weird. I mean, I think whoever said maybe a shadow is the right answer could have been right as well. Like, it could be that I just want, like, more fall off here or something. Like, what does Blender look like? Like, when I have some sort of, like... Maybe it's just the same problem here. They kind of have, like, the same thing where it just looks less... Like, it just looks sharper here. What are their colors here? So I think they have 3 as well. Their pop-up's, like, the most dark. Whatever. I'll just ignore this problem for now. Makes my life easier. We'll just pretend it's fine. Because really, we're like nitpicking. We're nitpicking. It doesn't look that bad. Yeah, I think it looks fine. We could add some left padding to this text, but it's like whatever. It's whatever. Okay, sure. What were we even working on to trigger this? It was the pop-up layer? Is that how we got here? I actually don't remember. Property list. That's how we got here. Property list. Right, because the property list looked kind of fucked up because of the like non-standard gap between elements, which is fixed now, right? Yeah, this looks way better now than it used to. I think left padding is the least we can do, but also not a big deal. Yeah, I mean, I will get there at some point. It's weird because to me it looks okay here. I don't know why it looks okay here. It probably doesn't, is the answer. But it's okay. I need to not get too I need to let things be a little bit, because if I'm doing this because I'm like stressed out that things aren't committed, doing more will not help. So we have to focus. Okay. So what's in this? What do we... Combo box we've made some changes to, in property list, and then are we happy with the property list as a whole? I don't think we've finished reviewing it. Dude, I have absolutely no idea what you just typed to, Bob. I'm just like, oh, that's a lot of words. It's a lot of buzzwords. I can't tell if you're trolling or if this is just like a real answer, because I have uh no familiarity with the subject. That's so funny. Okay, so this stuff was all fine. Not trolling, sadly. Wish I had now. It's just so many words. Yeah, okay, nothing. Okay, so we're happy with the bounds iterator. We're happy with that. We liked the left pad, and I think that probably we should put a comment somewhere. We can say like wrapper, like key value. Maybe it makes sense to put it here. like key value list where value has a fixed width. You may think that this is a generalized table, a specialization of a. This is a standard table. Keep in mind that layout of key value boxes is specialized such that the key is left justified and the value is center justified. While this is technically, yeah, I mean, I guess that is still like a specialization of a table, huh? It's just our table requires our table would require individual column justification. Is that the right word? If you replace this, make sure each column can be individually justified. Sure. Maybe you should have a debug mode where the layout lines are highlighted on hover. Yeah, I have thought about that. I'm not really sure what that gains me here, but in this exact situation, but I have considered, like, it would be nice. It would be nice. Okay, then everything else in here is actually quite straightforward. Whoa, what's going on in update? What's going on in update? That's kind of funny. Why is this here? Oh, I see, because we're like a layout. Do we do that same trick in layout? What do we do over here? Oh, this is interesting. So here we do not lie about the height. In the property list, we do. Why? Is there any is this just like a useless hack? Do we actually need to do this? Like, we do available size dot height here. Does anything change? This feels like a stupid hack for no reason. Maybe it just maybe this is like technically more correct, but just happens to be like not a big deal. Because I think that none of our widgets, other than like the rectangle, try to fill height. Although even then, if we did put a rectangle in here, we probably wouldn't want it to be infinitely large, right? That'd be insane. So let's kind of do this for now, and if it ever comes back to bite us, we'll come back to it, but I think it's probably fine. Self.size width is available size width. What about the self-size height? Ah, okay, sure. Maybe we should just do this at the bottom. Unless this is used above somewhere. Self-size width. Nope. Yes, we should just update this all at once. That's not confusing. Self-size equals this. Okay. This comment belongs here now. Okay. Okay, so now we say the value is using the value width, and then the key available is using the remaining width. Arguably, we should pad between them as well. But it's fine. I'm sure, like, we could probably look at this if we went into our wherever the fuck we use this property list. Sidebar, probably. Property list. If we just make one of our properties have like a really long name, right? So if we just do like this, and this is in, we probably want to do it in one of the other, in probably one of the ones that does a combo box drop down. Probably add shader params to property list. Uniform name. So we can probably, if we go into our circle shader and we just make this color like color, 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 color. I think that will let us see how the fucking left and right edge like slam into each other. Which one was it? Did we just change circle? Yeah, here. Ah, I guess it's kind of fine that there's no padding. Weirdly, that actually looks fine. Weirdly, I would kind of expected that this is not okay. Are we padding somewhere else that we're not supposed to be? Like, we take the available width minus the value width. And then when we do like the value width, we use the value width here. Are we lying when we do bounds iteration here? Are we accidentally squishing something? Widget width minus value width is the same here. And then yeah, I mean, I guess it's fine. That's surprising. I would have thought that that would cause some sort of visual problem, but all right. All right. Fine. Here we go over each thing. We take its values and we say, let's increase our height by the maximum of those two things. And then we add the item pad, and then we've overcounted by 1 here. Sure. Yeah, okay. Set input state. So we do the same bounds iterator thing. We get the input response from key and value. I think that these guys need some commas in here to be a little nicer formatted. There we go. And then there's nothing crazy here. We take the key box, we take the intersection of the key box and the input, same with the value. And then we merge input responses, which I guess we are not looking at the... Okay, so we do have want focus here. Oh, but if the value... We don't care about focus on the key because our focused ID is a single thing. So we should put a note here. If key ever needs focus, this needs to be updated to support like to indicate whether the key or value is focused. Okay. But for now, we just don't do that. That's fine. Set focus is fine. Reset's fine. All right. And we already looked this. Okay, cool. We got there. Yeah, it really sucks when you code finishes and you're not sure why. I call that quote unquote finished. Yeah. I mean, I think that like it's wrong to like just let it go. Because like I think that I don't know. It feels wrong. But in this case, I don't care. I admit that it's wrong and I'm just living with it. Okay. So this is property list. So we want to look at these changes to text render. We might want to pull those in. I guess we should also check that the text rendering stuff looks okay in image generation as well. We didn't check that. New text. Let's use the right font. So now there's like a little bit of extra border on the top and bottom, but it does mean that there's no like weird jumping around now when I do like oh, I can't just type a caret. That's kind of funny. There are some keys that aren't supported, I guess. What's something that has like a high top? Right, like that doesn't look weird anymore, where before it probably would have been pretty jumpy. It's weird that the right edge of characters kind of lines up with the end like that, but I guess probably the left edge does too if we use the right character on the left. B. Oh no. I wonder why there's always a pad here. If you don't mind me asking what font you're using. Hack regular. Yeah, it's weird to me that the left side is padded here and the right side is not. F is often the highest center. Yeah, okay. Yeah, something about this feels wrong. Yeah, why is the left side padded? This is coming from text object. I'm assuming that we're not doing any padding here. That would be silly. Doesn't seem like something we would have done. Layout text. So our initial bounds set minimum max to 0. It's very strange. And then what about like our rollback data? Start x0. It's also weird that in our GUI framework, it doesn't seem like we have the same problem, right? In the GUI framework, the B here ends up like all the way up again. Oh, maybe not. Maybe there's a little bit of gap there. All right. Do you support vertical bar? I probably can't type it. I wouldn't be shocked if I can't. Yeah, I can't type either of those right now. It's because we need to like forward the key presses from GLFW and convert them to ASCII, and there's just a bunch that we haven't done yet. I mean, it's pretty clear to me that this thing, like, the padding on the left and right side there seems pretty sane, but maybe that's just like by chance. I don't understand why this is so padded on the left and on the right. It's just kind of weird. But fuck it. I'm gonna ignore that. I'm gonna ignore it. Text rendering is such a deep rabbit hole. Yeah, it's definitely definitely is. Okay. So let's make sure that everything that we did in here is sane. Specifically, I'm worried about the changes to the text renderer. Seems fine. Seems fine. We do have to track the min-max y. I guess technically we probably don't have to track max y. This is probably redundant because it will always be one ascent, but fuck it. It's fine. It's fine. Okay, so this stuff goes here. And was there other text renderer stuff in here before? Do we need to worry about that? There was, but it's minor. I wonder why we did this. Who's using pics to clip? Interesting. I mean, nobody need. Oh, we do need to incast here. I wonder if that's why. So if we take these out, oops. Like, do these need to be there? Oops. What the fuck did I just do? What the fuck? Okay. I assume that this doesn't work anymore because this doesn't, but then can we just replace these with like, if these were U sizes like before, that's also not fine. What if we make these I32s? Because width here returns a U32. So that being U32 makes sense here. Interesting. I mean, U32s do make sense here. So we probably just change it at some point, because why the fuck would we use U sizes if all of our sizes are U32s? I guess that probably makes sense. And then leaving those intcasts in there seems kind of reasonable because these guys are I32s, but we're making the guarantee that this is bigger than that. Fuck it. Sure. Sure. And then is anybody using like text layout empty? Somebody's using this, right? Yeah. Sure. Okay, so I think we can pull in all the text render changes and call those reviewed. That seems reasonable. So we needed to pull in text source text renderer. We also changed we changed the property list zig. And then I think we changed something else. Here, it was the combo box, I think. We changed the combo box height. Yeah, so we changed the combo box height. Oh, and then rect we also had in here. Oh, but the rect we had already pulled in. Okay. Okay. And then we should put some notes in here. Text renderer. We should write down, like, a lot of these things are new widgets, so we don't really have to comment on those specifically. But in this one, we should probably comment on what text render changes were made. So, I don't know. Like this. Okay. So we added empty. Empty layout added for GUI text. Initial state. Okay. We changed layout adjusted to always keep one to have a consistent height no matter what characters are inserted. And then that's kind of all of this. And then we'll say pix to clip has never all types changed since all our inputs are U32, I32. U size is a strange choice there. Okay. Cool. Cool. Jesus Christ. We've been at this for like 2 hours. How much have we actually got committed? Like, so little. We did GUI text layout property list. Rect. Oh, that's not too bad. 4. That's not too bad. Alright. Let's look at the latest things that need to be reviewed. Alright. I guess we should pull in the color pick changes, huh? That was part of the source, GUI, source, color picker. That was part of the rectangle changes. Okay. I don't know if I'm gonna keep this demo, to be honest. There's a good chance I just completely nuke the demo. stack is probably the next easiest one to look at, I think. So this guy, his job is like to be a layout that goes kind of like into the screen, right? So we have like a stack might have like some widgets put on top of each other. And so in here, you're gonna like, we use this, probably the most common use of this is to put a background behind other stuff, right? So we have a stack that you put a rectangle down here, and then on top of it you draw like your text, and that way you can use it to like make sidebars and stuff. So what he has items that are stack items. We have different options for stack item layout. I'd be curious to know if all of these are used. We have some that are like, just position this at this like exact location relative to the top left of the stack. One is just like fucking fill this guy. Like just let him go as big as you want. So that's like for like the rectangle background. We use fill. Centered, I just don't know if we ever use this. It looks like we do on sidebar, color picker, and combo box. Interesting. So what is our like stack here? Our stack has a rectangle and a box. Oh, and probably we're just using centered here instead of offset of 0, 0. Right? Because like this is probably just a pain to write. And so we just used centered because like happens to be the same. Fuck it. I think it's fine to leave centered in there. I don't really mind it. Fucking is a parameter for fill. Hell yeah, god damn it. Sure. So we'll allow all three of these. They're fine. So each stack item can be laid out in some specific way, and then otherwise we just keep a widget next to them. Sure. We initialize our stack. We deinit our stack. Nothing crazy there. Hi, Mr. Hello. Push or widget or deinit widget. So here we say if we fail, we will delete that thing. Just assume that we did whatever we need to do with it. We have the layout and the widget. Layout here is passed in as a parameter here. I see you on For You page too much. I don't know what a For You page is. Are you talking about TikToks? Because I don't have TikToks. But fuck, that time was empty. That time was empty. Item size. It says no, the recommended Twitch thing. Oh, I see. Nice. Nice. I'll take it. So we say our new total size depends on the layout. Okay, so this says like if we're centered, this widget takes the maximum of the existing width or the new width. Sure. So if it's centered, then it can like expand the size of this thing. That makes sense. If it's offset, we might have to move things over to the right from the top. That makes sense. And then on fill, we just say the new, like the size of this thing is not, this does not contribute to the size. I don't think this is for me. Okay, that's pretty funny. You're just like, come here to tell me that the recommendation algorithm is fucking you. It's just like, okay. I hate Rust users. Okay, shut the fuck up. That's a rude thing to say. Also, we're not running Rust, so there's like a double. What the fuck? Stay man. Okay, you're just being a fucking rude piece of shit. Just get out of here. I also like the idea that you just see me here with like a giant grin on my face laughing, and you're just like, this guy's angry. It's like, shut the fuck up. Just don't be annoying, man. Okay. So we did neutral size. We're happy with that. As widget, sure, because this thing is a layout. So as we construct the layout, he's not a widget yet, but then we turn him into a widget later. We have a deinit function for widget casting. Makes sense. Rendering, we say, give me the item bounds of this guy. For each item, what are his bounds? Right, because on the stack, there's not like this like iterative layout thing. They're all going on top of each other. So we just have some size when we're putting stuff relative to the stack somewhere. You know you've made it when the schizos show up like that. I guess. Okay, so if we're centered, we center the box in the bounds. Sure, that makes sense. If we were offset from the top, we take the left side and we offset by X, we take the top side and we offset by Y, and then we put the width and height in there. Sure. And then if we're fill, we just use the width and height and assume that the size has correctly adjusted itself, right? So the fill, if we say fill this thing and the widget says no, then we lay out relative to the top left. We could also choose to center here as well, but I think top left is a fine choice as well. It doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter, because in reality, anytime where we use fill, the thing should probably be filling. Sure, that's fine. Get size, return a size, sure. And then on update, this is the interesting part. So we go through each of our items in the stack. They lay out back to front. The thing at the deepest thing. Charbit, thank you for the prime. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Oh, this is interesting. So we do a double update here. One time we loop over and we look at fill items, and one time we skip them. Why? Because we need the size of our stack, and because fill items don't contribute to the size of the stack, we can't tell them how much the space they need to fill is until we've looked at everyone else. I see. So here we just call update and we update our size. Okay, yeah, that's totally reasonable. That makes sense. Input state. Okay, what is happening? Jesus fucking Christ. Right, okay, so the stack is laid out back to front, and I guess on input, we want to pick the first thing that we have input on that's like in front. Interesting. That's okay. I realize now as your GUI development progresses why there are so many options and methods to override on most GUI frameworks. Yeah. There's a lot of minor details that they just try to throw the kitchen sink at. I'm hoping that by doing it myself, it just means that I can skip all the things I don't care about. Okay. So yeah, we want to make sure that we only send input to the topmost widget, which is interesting. So here, what's happening here? We have the item bounds, okay, and the item input bounds we intersect with our input bounds. And if the item consumes input, which I assume is either if our mouse down was in there or our mouse is currently there. And this is a valid fix me. We say like, is it really up to us to determine if that widget consumed input? It kind of seems up to the widget to say, is this something I care about? But in this case, it's probably fine for now. So I'm just gonna put like a we won't say fix me, but we will put the comment here in case we want to come back to it later. Later we'll look at this and be like, yeah, you're right. But for now it's fine. Fix me. Unsure if this is right. Okay, that's interesting. So here we set the input state. We say, okay, widget. Hit me with it. What do you care about? If they want focus, say this. It does seem kind of like we can just do this. Yeah, okay. Sure. I wonder if we want to do this first. Because we kind of don't want to set the return. That's probably what that fix me was for. Is like, we don't really want to set the return value to be the thing unless we think that it's something that we care about. So it's almost like this item consumes input should be here. Right? Yeah. There we go. So that way we don't even call into it if we think that it's not relevant. Unity spent 10 years making a new GUI framework and they say the simpler framework is better for many use cases. That's so funny. I didn't know Unity had a GUI framework. But I guess it makes sense. Yeah, that seems better. This needs to be tested. We need to make sure that like our stacks still work, but this seems way more reasonable to me at like a glance. Okay. Set focus, we just pick our focused ID, sure. Reset, we just reset all widgets. That makes sense. We already looked at item bounds and new total size, and then we just have like some fucking weird comment here for some reason. Okay, so where is a stack? I guess like this whole thing is a stack, but a more interesting stack might be the color picker here. So as long as this is still working kind of reasonably okay, I think we're probably good. Yeah, I think that's probably fine. It's fine. And otherwise it looks okay. Dude, it's fire. Thanks. Yeah, I'm actually pretty happy with it. It looks pretty fucking sick. Okay. So stack. Stacky. Rebase. Dash I. Take this stuff, put it in the GUI stuff. Rebase. And then edit this one. And flag this thing as completed. GUI. What was it? Stack.sig? Sure. Oh, we didn't check imports, but imports do look good. The color picker I hadn't seen before. It's sick. Yeah, dude, it's pretty it's pretty involved. we were having fun with the idea of I didn't like the idea of like an HSV color picker. I didn't like it. I did like the idea of RGB being like a cube of color. And then we kind of like did this whole thing where we like turn the cube on its corner and then project it, and then you get something that looks very similar to HSV, but it's not quite. Hold on. Hold on. Get rebase. Continue. There we go. Yeah, so what we're looking at when we pop open the color picker, is, let's see if we can pull this up. Color picker. So this, you can kind of see you can kind of see the lines here. There are kind of like bright lines along these edges, and that's because what we've actually done is we've like taken what's the easiest way to do this? We can visualize this in Blender for sure. Can we maybe we scale this down by 0.5? Okay, and then we move it so that it's like somewhat reasonably positioned, and then we add colors to this thing. We make it colorful. So I think we go into the shader editor here. Hold on, we're gonna get there. Fuck, I clicked the wrong button. That one fucking always takes a long time to fucking compile shaders and shit. I want to crash my computer. There we go. Okay. Oh geez, there we go. Much better. So we adjust the color of this thing so that it follows the axes of the object. It's probably like object info. Like where is like the texture coordinate? There we go. So we take this, shove it in here. Where's our yellow? Why is it all blue and red? Hello? Apply all transforms. There's supposed to be yellow in here somewhere. Oh, am I negative on one axis? I probably am. I'm probably... Yeah, there we go. There we go. Okay, so this is the cube of color. I guess we should apply gamma. Looks a little better. So like in the top right corner here, you have like RGB white. Here you have RGB is all black. Here's full red. Here's full green. Here's full blue, right? And what we've like done is we've kind of just like, actually look, there we go, looks a little better. We've like just taken this cube and looked at it from this angle with like an orthographic projection, which is pretty cool, right? If we open up our color picker again, it looks kind of like that. Constant color, right? So that's why this thing is a hexagon, is because like you're just looking at the fucking cube on its corner. It's kind of fun, fun little thing we did. But it also just looks kind of sick. Okay, so stack is in, I think. Yeah, stack is in the reviewed section. Next up, probably we look at the whole scroll set stuff together. So I think scroll bar is kind of like a subset of scroll view. Maybe we look at the bar first. So the bar has some style. Does he use all these imports? He doesn't use math at all. What about scroll corridor? That's used. Util surely is used. Color is surely used. Input state surely used. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All this stuff's good. Did you ever look up OK Lab? Oh, I forgot. I meant to. Because you did talk about it. What is it? 3 coordinates. Lightness, which is perceived, so probably like gamma correct, like some sort of like logarithmic scaling. How red, green, and how blue, yellow? What? Okay. So if we were to look at this cube, red, green, I guess is like the bottom half of the cube. So it's doing like scaling from like the bottom to the top of this cube, I guess. And then lightness is how far it is probably diagonally on this axis, or maybe how far it is like. Yeah, it must be like this distance here. It must be. And then no, A and B is how green red, and A is how green red, and B is how blue yellow, and L is perceived lightness. So probably L probably goes like diagonally up this whole thing. Then the how red, green, and blue yellow will like offset it towards like up or down would be my guess. Maybe. But then how do you get like green? No, A must be an interpolation from red to green, and B must be an interpolation from blue to yellow. That would make way more sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I understand why you would want this. They're saying that like you can get like a more continuous perceived color spectrum. Interesting. Yeah, that is way better. So I guess is it that they're doing some sort of like scaling for like how sensitive our cones and our eyes are as well? Because like raw lightness values HSV I would assume is more correct, but yes, okay, that makes sense. That's kind of fun. That's neat. Perceptually uniform, so a given change along some axis independent of where on that axis you do that change. Interesting. Neat. Colorblind mode, probably never. Okay, scroll bar, scroll bar, scroll bar, scroll bar. Gutter color, default color, hover color, active color. So this is the color of the background. This is the color of the thing before you hover, after you hover, when you click. Sure. Corner radius, I assume. Yeah, all this makes sense. Width of the scroll bar also makes sense. Okay, cool. So this is some sort of constant style used shared between all scroll bars in existence. They have a squircle renderer to render both the background and the bar itself. Okay. Bar ratio. So this must be where... I actually have no idea what this is. The fuck is bar ratio? Scroll bar height times bar ratio is the bar pixel. Oh. This is like how tall the scroll bar is relative to the size of the bar itself. So this is how tall the scroll bar is relative to the size. How tall the handle is relative to the size of the entire scroll bar. And then this is where the top of the handle is relative to the size of the... This is either relative to the size of like the remaining space or the height, yes. Relative to the size of the scroll bar. The annoying thing is hardware has RGB range of 0 to 1. In perceptually uniform color spaces, valid values along some axis depends on where other axis you are. Yeah, it makes sense. Makes interpolation while staying in RGB and hardware gamut hard. Yep, makes sense. Is that why you have like that like fucking that like weird fucking blob color spaces? You know that like this thing. Is that what like, this thing is? Like this, like I don't know what the fuck I'm looking at here, but like I've seen this shape so many times in my life looking it up. I don't know why, but this picture really cracks. That's very funny. Yeah, okay, I was born out of hardware not working good on a lab color. Makes sense. I wonder if I can apply Portal 2 modding tutorial to Unreal games so it appears on Steam. What? What are you saying? I wonder if I can apply Portal to I guess I just shouldn't read it. But like, what do you Portal isn't written in Unreal, right? I assume it's written in Source 2. I'm pretty sure it's Source 2. And then what do you mean so it appears on Steam? I'm actually like so okay, I just sometimes things just don't make sense and I have to be okay with that. I'm just gonna stop. It's just confusing. Okay. So I do like the idea of calling this thing handle. I think that I had trouble with the word bar and scroll bar before. So I think that we're gonna call this handle ratio. I think I like that better, and then we can call this handle height pixel, which means that the bottom is the top pixel times handle height pixel. Nice. And handle bounce, which we actually called the handle here. So we were already on the right track when we were doing this before. We just didn't make it all the way. Okay, so we have a handle, and we're gonna call the scroll bar the whole thing, the whole shebang. And then our scroll input state is none. Oh, sure. So we're like, are we dragging hovered or like default state? Sure. Okay, handle input returns desired scroll height as a ratio of the total scrollable area. Makes sense. Do you guys know birds have a fourth cone compared to our three perceived colors? They can see the UV. Oh, that's pretty sick. Birds aren't real. I guess. Okay, update drag state. So we say if we're currently dragging, is dragging, we are dragging, if we are already dragging, and we are dragging if we're dragging, and the mouse down location is not equal to null. Okay. So we're like, if we're dragging, then we return. Otherwise, I mean, this is a bad name. This should be called like already dragging. That makes a bit more sense. If we're already dragging, if this is the case. Otherwise, like what? Yeah, if we're already dragging, there's nothing to do. Otherwise, we set the drag state. Why is it like this? Why do we have like an early return here? So if we, because we can't, we don't want to reset the start state of the drag. Sure. Okay, that makes sense. There is this shit. A modding guide makes it so that mods appear on Steam. I mean, I would assume that like you can't just make any game this thing, but I don't know. I'd have to care a lot more to find out. Did you know that magnetite in their beak interface with? Dude, I'm not gonna fucking. I can't even pronounce half these words. Sure. So if we're already dragging, we don't want to do anything, and we'll just maybe we should put a note here. If we are already dragging, moving into the drag state again would reset the drag start, so we early return. Sure. then here it's like if the mouse contain if we've clicked on the bar or if we've clicked on the handle, then we're dragging. Otherwise, if we're above the handle, we're hovered. Otherwise, nothing. Okay, cool. Makes sense. Then we look at the current drag state and we say, if we're dragging, please, Jesus Christ, what am I looking at? We have the input y minus where we came from, right? Then we say, okay, we've moved this much over the scroll bar height plus the start offset. Okay, yeah, that's actually like totally fine. That's not crazy at all. And then we clamp this to make sure that we never exceed, the bar never goes like below or above the bounds. That makes sense. Streams about GUI development chat. Streams about GUI development chat. Bird eyes, magnetic beak, portal mod Unreal, and Steam question mark. Yeah, happy hour, baby. Yeah, okay, that's fine. I guess we could be like, we could try to name this, but I don't really feel like I have a good name for it. But I don't like how long the line is. So can we be like, relative? We can call this like mouse movement. That kind of can be all of this stuff. Then we have this, and then we say like, this can be in pixels. Mouse movement, rel bar can be this. Okay. That feels okay. Yeah. Mouse movement, maybe ratio is better. Yeah. That feels pretty good. And that one guy said he hates Rust users. Yeah, dude, that guy was crazy. Okay, yeah, that's better. I like that. And then arguably you could like do this or something, whatever, it's fine. On render, we're just like render the gutter with hard-coded 0 corner radius. I think I did that on purpose because it looked fucking weird. We'll just say like intentional, avoid, like keeps edges crisp, and avoids leaking background. Okay. Otherwise, we find our handle bounds, which we'll review in a minute, and set the color. Sure. Handle bounds are just like, give me the height of my thing, and then the handle height is the ratio size with this. Yep. Offset is this. Yep. Nothing crazy there. Sure. So the bar, totally reasonable. Totally fine. And then I assume that we're just like fucking. Are we just changing the like hard modifying this stuff externally? That's kind of fucking weird. Right? Like, are these like public API? Kind of, huh? Yeah, that's kind of strange. But I guess fine. Best language you learn for the new year? Answering Chinese is very funny. Okay, yeah, I guess probably in the scroll view, we're probably just hard modifying handle ratio. Oh, bar ratio is what's called here. Yeah, I see. Which I guess is fine. I'm not really against that. I guess that it just probably makes sense to kind of group these differently. Maybe like this, and just say like, feel free to modify these. Feel free to modify but not these. uh internal state. We could do one of those things where you put like, you could do like this. But I don't really care enough to do that right now. This is fine. It's good enough. That's fine for now. Okay. So let's take a look at this scroll view. What does he do? I'm sure this is probably one of the more complex one of the more complex widgets. So we have some sort of size. We have. Why is this called layout? Can we call this inner? Layout feels very strange. I guess probably at some point this actually took in a layout class, and then we're like, fuck it, we can put a scroll view around literally anything. Is probably what happened. We cannot know if the layout requires a scroll bar without actually executing a layout. Try layout with the current scroll. Sure. Okay, so we'll call this thing inner. That feels a little nicer. We have some vtable. We implement every single API. Hell yeah. Our inner is our inner. We have an int function. He takes in this thing and returns a widget. So this feels like I guess this could be a function, a free function. This could be something like make scroll bar, takes an allocator. Inner would be, this would be like any type. And then we return type of inner, like this, which is maybe a little nicer. Scroll view. Extracting the action type out of there, though, is less trivial. Okay, sure. Which means that we would probably want to pass in the action as a parameter, and then this thing was only parameterized by action anyways, so this is fine. This is fine. Okay, so this is fine. This is fine. We create our scroll bar with a squircle renderer and a scroll bar style. We initialize the size with the inner size. Probably doesn't fucking matter because on update we probably reset it anyways, but that's a good initial value. Fuck it. Dinit, get size, nothing too crazy there. Okay, update. This is the interesting part. So we cannot know if the layout requires a scroll bar without actually executing layout. Try layout with the current scroll state and reload if the state is wrong. So this is because if the widget is large enough, we don't want to show the scroll bar. So like here, you can see like this guy, the scroll bar appears, and when the scroll bar appears, everybody gets like shifted into the left, right? Because now we need that room for the bar. So I think what happens here is we layout, if the layout is in the wrong state, i.e., we should show the scroll bar if the content height is greater than the window height. If we're in the wrong state, we go again. And presumably the width is adjusted based off of if the scroll bar is present. Interesting. Neat. Okay, so we say self scroll bar present is this thing. Sure. Adjusted window size is window size, and we subtract the scroll bar width. That makes sense. I kind of feel like it would look nicer if this was constant, and we did width is window size, width minus self scroll bar width. Yep, that feels nicer. And I don't like the use of this thing being called window size either. What do we like? What is the proper name for this? This thing feels like it usually has a different name. Update available size is what we usually call it. Available size. That feels a little nicer. Sure. Okay. And then self size is available size. Okay. Everywhere here. Okay. So we say try, like, lay this thing out. And this layout, say everything here. I guess this feels like wordy. I think previously we used to do like more layouty things. This is just using like one widget as its internals. If we update and the scroll bar's in the wrong state, turn it off. Flip it. Better. Okay. And then I guess we want to check. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Duplicate with set input state. What is duplicate with self input state? This. Okay. Jesus Christ. I'm looking at set input state. My brain's just like blowing up. I have like no idea what I'm looking at here. But here we say the scroll offset here is. What am I looking at? What is happening here? So when we update, we take the existing scroll offset and we just make sure that it is still sane, right? So if like the whole content changed, like the whole content shrunk, then we need to make sure that we are still in bounds, is basically all we're saying here. Which is fair. So we should like clamp scroll offs. Seems fine. Yeah. And this can use self size height here. Yeah. So this is saying, give me the maximum of the entire inner height, which content height seems like it doesn't need to be a function. I guess that's fine, yeah. So this is like, give me like the total content height, probably saturating sub my height, or else we could probably crash. Or 0. Oh, I see. So, because content height is an I32, size height is a U31. I see. But like this is a U31, so like why are we doing that? We could just do U31 here. Then here we can do like then it can't be anything other than 0. Oh, this can be an I32. Sure. So maybe like this feels kind of nice if that compiles. Then we just call it here clamp scroll offs, okay? And then we can do the same thing down here where the fuck we're doing that. Okay. I don't know if that compiles still. It does. Okay, we're chilling. So this fix me goes away, and then we set the handle. Yeah, everything's chilling. Sure. Sure. Okay, what's happening here? What the fuck is happening here? So let's put a break there. Here we say, give me the new scroll ratio. This will be a nicer way of doing this. So if there's some new scroll ratio, then we can do something. Cool. And then we apply that thing as a ratio of the content height. Yep, cool. Then we say if someone scrolled the scroll bar of this frame, we update this. This clamp needs to be done in either of these scenarios. Right? Because like theoretically, this could be wrong. And then here we input on the child thing, sure. And this line's really long, so let's recomma there. On render, we scissor this thing because like child widgets do not attempt to keep themselves in their bounds. For most cases, this is fine. However, if we scroll a widget such that it pokes out behind another widget, if we have a scroll view as part of a layout, we need to ensure that our child does not poke out the top or bottom of our scroll. Yeah. Okay, so we find the layout bound. What does layout bounds even mean? What does this mean? The bounds top minus the scroll offset. Child bounds. So we have our bounds. We have our bounds, which are passed in here. We subtract the scroll offset. Ah, I see. Okay. Yeah. So this is saying layout bounds is a bad name here. Is this used other places? I kind of feel like this should be like inner bounds is a better name for this. So this is given our bounds. What are the inner bounds? And then that seems fine. Okay. Then the scissor bounds are the intersection of the child bounds with our bounds. Sure. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Then this thing needs a comma here. Then we render. Okay. Layout is pretty much always a bad name if you're doing layout. Yeah, I could see that. Then we calculate window width and window height. Okay. Why? What is happening here? This is so stupid. We're just taking the window bounds and then remaking them here. Why? This is so stupid. We should just fucking use the window bounds here. We're fucking brain dead. There we go. That makes way more sense. Otherwise, then we run the scroll bar. Sure, nothing crazy. Set focused. We just pass it along. Reset. It's on input. We did return. Yeah, we just return whatever the child wanted. Do we need to adjust anything? No, because the input return is just like an action, so nothing to return there. Or nothing to like adjust. Reset, we reset the scroll offset, makes sense. Alright, now we just have to make sure everything still works. Boom, boom, boom. Bow, 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 bow. Okay, so drag this thing. He clamps to the bottom, he clamps to the top. Scrolling also clamps to the bottom and the top. This like jitter thing is still working. And then we want to make sure that if I scroll down here and I switch objects, he jumps back to the top. Hell yeah. Yeah, I think this seems fine. No leaks from that. And then can we run the demo app? Just make sure that this looks okay. Well, he doesn't. Why is this broken? The text render actually breaks here, which is interesting. I wonder why that's happening. Interesting. Interesting. All right, what's happened there? Up, 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 up. Okay. Off by 1 probably. Probably a rounding error would be my guess. Would be my guess. So the new bounds max y has grown. Let me think for a second. Let's just see how it looks if I comment this out. I'm sure it's probably fine. I assume it looks fine, but It's hard to know even who caused the problem. Jesus Christ. Jeez. Has this always looked this bad? I don't think so. I don't think this has always looked this bad. This feels new to me. But I mean, I know this has always been like at least a little bit of a problem. But I wonder if we made it worse with some of the text renderer changes that we made recently. Because that's pretty rough. I mean, it could be related to this like maximum thing. It looks like an off by 1 on like the bottom of the box or something. What happens? If we only change the X bounds here. Reminds me of this for like alternate caps. Yeah, I had this good meme where I worked at this like security camera company, and oh, that looks way actually still looks pretty bad. Yeah, place red looks particularly bad, huh? Does that look like any different? It's pretty much exactly the same, huh? So unrelated. Okay, we're just gonna leave this for now. Do I just let this go? Do I just let it go? Yeah. Maybe we just let it go. Maybe we just let it go. You could wiggle each character up and down to increase app fun factor and then accidentally mask the problem. I worked at this security camera company, and one of the things that we did was like the camera, it like kind of looked like this, I think. It was, and it had like, I think this had like a big IR beam here, bloop, 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 and then like a pretty like big like 30x zoom here, and then this thing was all on like this like swivel mount, so it would kind of like, you know, you could kind of like rotate like however, whatever. But because of this like design, it meant that if this thing ever pointed like up, you could get like a buildup of snow on this lens here, right? And so what would happen is, or like rain as well, you get like rain or snow here. So it was this like little wiper that sat like this, and it would kind of like rotate up and down like this, so it could wipe both like the IR lens and the like camera lens. But if it was like if the camera noticed that it was like -10 or whatever, it would be like, oh fuck, this wiper is like not powerful to push off like snow and ice. Like if this thing is like caked in ice, like we'll literally just like burn the fucking motor out by trying to ram it into this, which is like I think probably kind of bad design in my thoughts. Like I don't really understand why we would make something that like mechanically would just like why not just like add some slip into the gears or something, right? So that it doesn't just like fucking burn itself out. But whatever. It would like actually like hard break. And so what we had to do was like on the video that came in, we would like put a like warning, like wiper is disable. Because like whoever implemented this like took a boolean and turned it into enable disable instead of like, and they just like used the string in this text. And then on top of that, the text rendering, like as we know around here, text rendering is like not like a trivial thing, but like because like this is like some shitty firmware, right? Like I think that the actually, if I remember correctly, the text rendering was like embedded in the hardware of the camera. So like who there was like this like encoder, this like piece of hardware that like took in like frames from a sensor and like turned it into like a H.264 stream, essentially. Close enough. And so I think what would happen is we would like feed this encoder some text to put, and it made like the funniest thing I've ever seen. It was so fucked because all of the like this like vertical text rendering problem that we have here was like exactly what we saw here, right? So like we would see like some characters just like be like full like maybe like 20% too high or low. And so we just like have this camera. People are spending like so much money on these things. And then you just have this like this wonky, like shifted wiper is disabled text on top of it. And it's just like, what the fuck are we doing? It's so funny. It looks so fucking stupid. And so then of course, like somebody screenshots this and just like posts it in our like work chat because it's fucking hilarious. They're just like, guys, like come on, like what are we doing? Right? And so I made a bot that you could like it hooked into the chat room and you could just like ask it to generate pictures. So I took like an image of the office and had it like I think I used like libcairo to just like take text and I like Cairo would like render the font like nicely for me. So then I would like intentionally just like jumbled up all the characters to add the fun factor, right? And then because like an extra layer of entertainment on top of this was that sometimes like you could get the camera to put out this like really like compressed shitty text, like this shitty image as well, right? Because like the JPEG, like there was like when I said H.264 here, it could also like JPEG compress individual images, which we used sometimes. And so you could really crank up the JPEG compression on this thing, and it would be like applied to the text as well. And then like so I also as part of the bot ran it through a JPEG compressor and decompressor like 30 times. It looked so good. It looked like actually like almost identical to the image we got on the camera. Um, yeah, deep fryer. It was so funny. It cracked me up forever. I still think about it sometimes. Anyways, when I when I see whatever the fuck this is, this where is it? Hello? Which of these like no? Wow, there's a lot of paint windows. When I see this, I immediately just think of that, and I'm like happy. um, I do think that this text. Please tell me it was bright yellow or neon. No, I think it was kind of like black on like kind of like faded yellow. I think was like kind of behind here. Look, just like this. This is a perfect reenactment. That M is so scuffed. Yeah, I actually think I have seen. Anyways, to get back to doing some work, I think that this text always has been kind of jumpy. It's just like at certain resolutions, it didn't look like perfect. Um, and so I think that I've had on my to-do list. I want to look at grid snapping. Let's see. This is probably one of the next things that we're gonna do, to be honest. Is there's like this idea that fonts have like programs inside them that basically snap them to the whatever grid they're supposed to be on. And I suspect that that will help. And so I want to try that and see if it fixes it. And for now, I think I'm just gonna let it be a little jumpy. That's kind of been like on my list of things to fix anyways. So we'll just let it be a little jumpy. Fuck it. Okay, so we reviewed the scroll view. We reviewed the scroll view, and we were running the demo app. We noticed a bug introduced by this assertion, so we just deleted the assertion. Fuck it. And otherwise, does everything look okay? Did no one think of putting a roof in the camera? I don't think that solves everything, right? Because like these things are outside, right? So if it's just like windy and raining, it's not like a roof is gonna fix the problem, right? That's like saying like your umbrella keeps you from getting completely prevents you from getting wet. It's like I don't think it's that simple. Your code reminds me of my toilet after Taco Bell. That's gross. Okay, I don't think that every time you eat Taco Bell, you should like shit yourself. And then also, that's just like an incredibly rude thing to say to someone. So, since you're a first-time chatter, you provide like 0 value. Get the fuck out of here. See you later. It's fucking annoying. Don't do that. I don't understand. I don't know if you're like trying to like practice running a bit, but it's just don't be a piece of shit. You also didn't even see the code. We've been talking about wiper is disable for like 5 minutes. Just like shut the fuck up, man. Okay. It's the Rust guy probably. I think it's a new account. I do kind of like the idea that I've got trolls. Don't like not in that I want you guys to be trolls. Don't, because I'll just ban you. But like it is kind of it's like it's just like confusing. Like surely you have better things to do than be here, right? Like there are way bigger people to target with way more like fun things to look at. I'm just writing code, man. It's like, what is the overlap of somebody who wants to say that my code looks like their Taco Bell shits and somebody who would find the stream? It's like those two things in my mind are like unrelated. I just don't understand how this is like how it happens, and so it's like kind of funny to me. Yeah, I mean this scroll view looks fine. If I like make it really big, it goes away. Yeah, I think it's like fine. All right, cool. Scroll view, I think we can consider finished. Git add dash u, git commit dash m, smile. And then we rebase down here, which I think is already in the buffer. The smile gets folded into GUI. We rebase again, we edit the reviewed work. And git checkout, whip, source, GUI, source, scroll, bar zig? Scroll bar one word, nice, and then scroll view, probably 2 words, and then in the text section we had more changes to the text renderer. Okay. Yep, all right. Chill. What's next? Have we not done frame yet? Frame's an easy target. Let's do that. Oh no, maybe that diff. Oh, that diff was just looking in the wrong spot. Okay. This stuff is easy. Maybe do we commit the demo? Do we commit the demo? I guess Widget Factory is probably the next one I want. Let's do Widget Factory. Oh god, I actually forgot. This is like a little bit of a shit show. Okay, so the Widget Factory is kind of in charge of like, you technically don't need him to use the GUI framework, but he makes things easier, right? So a lot of our widgets have like shared state associated with them, right? Like our selectable list state. He has like, he's like, hey, GUI state, okay, GUI text state. I don't know why the fuck we would call that GUI state. Okay. But he has like stuff for like the text renderer. So like things like we need to have a text renderer and a TTF and like a distance field generator, and this thing it needs to draw squircles sometimes. And so like all of this stuff is kind of wrapped in this shared state that gets passed in on every construction. And so the point of the Widget Factory is just like kind of keep all of these guys in one spot so you don't have to think about it, so that when I say make selectable list, I just don't have to think about where I've kept this list state. And then also like theming and stuff is kind of handled by here, right? Because like as part of the shared state, we have stuff like style, and this style has like colors and stuff, right? And so the Widget Factory kind of has this like consistent styling between all of the different widgets as well as like their shared state and stuff. That's kind of his job. And so I guess the question is do we think we've done a good job making this thing? So this is like a mega construction. Which I guess is probably fine. I don't really think all this is doing is like setting initial parameters. As long as we're careful about it. So we create our thing. If we fail anywhere down below, we say, okay, get the fuck out of here. We set our allocator. And what's weird about this construction is that we don't construct everything in one shot, because there's a lot of like self-references going on, which I wonder if is like okay. Hold on. If we were to do something like, what language are you programming in? This is Zig. Zig, zig, zig. Like, if I do this, like, text renderer, like, combo box shared. I'm pretty sure this breaks, actually. I think that you can't do self-references with this syntax, because I think that Zig will... I've hit bugs with this before, where it, like, takes, like, this, like, intermediate invalid state and uses it. So you do have to do it, like, piecewise, like this. Okay, so we make our text renderer. Nothing crazy here. And we have a proper error defer. We make our distance generator, error defer. We have our font, which we embed directly into the binary. I guess that's fine. I don't really see any reason not to do that. Seems reasonable. Then we have some like layout parameters, sizing stuff. So we get like the current line height and we use that as our base unit. And then we set that into the return value. Yeah, some of this stuff. Widget width, text wrapped height. So this is like kind of like widget, like default, like typical maybe. Widget width height is a better name for this. Typical widget height. Are you using a library like OpenGL or just doing your own thing? We're using OpenGL, but we are doing a lot of our own thing as well. We're not really... OpenGL is our only dependency at this point, I think. Maybe, oh, and GLFW for window init. I think. What else in here? Add system, like link system library. Yeah, libgl, GLFW, and then EGL for our OpenGL context creation in the linter. Yeah, so just OpenGL, essentially. Essentially just OpenGL. Widget text pattern. What the fuck is this? Is this different than like our layout pad? It is. What is this for? Widget text padding is used in like shared button state, which is like, okay, first of all, padding isn't even used, so get rid of that one. I'm pretty sure. But then who else uses this thing? Item pad in color picker state, which is just using the wrong pad. Right? We already have layout pad, so why the fuck is this not just layout pad? Probably a bug. I assume that this thing is not necessary. So let's double check that the buttons still look okay, and the... Oh. Oh, there's more. Okay. Oh, this actually makes sense. So this is like how much padding we want around the label in like a text box or combo box or something, I assume. Yeah, I guess that actually does kind of make sense. Now the question is are we using the right padding value in these places? So layout pad, we're using selectable list, item pads, layout pad. Frame, we're using the layout pad, sure. Property list style, we're using the layout pad. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, what about this other thing? Widget text padding. First of all, are these things like significantly different? Unit over 2 and unit over 5. Yeah, so pretty significantly different. So he's used in the okay, I'm surely in the color picker, this item pad is supposed to be a layout pad. Yeah, so this is surely wrong. Widget text padding on the text box state seems reasonable to me. And is that the only place? What about like in the combo box? Surely our combo box wants the same fucking shit, right? we're using layout pad here. So maybe that's why this was confusing. Right, we changed this item pad here. Oh, yeah, I bet you this is supposed to be widget text padding. And then this can go back to ×2. And then we probably want to use that widget text pad here. That's my guess. That's my guess. GUI state, we call this a GUI text state. We fix this. Okay. So, we don't have a combo box in this demo. Okay, so combo box. That's a bug. Triangle, it's probably the triangle size here. Is doing something stupid. All right. That's interesting. Interesting. So that's height. Interesting. I mean, the triangle height should just be fixed, right? Surely. Surely the triangle height should just be fixed, not derived like this, because that makes it look fucking weird. Surely. Yeah, surely this is just triangle height here. And then we just need to define this somewhere. So triangle width here. Surely we just make the height the same as the width, right? Why is this minus layout pad ×2? Like, what the fuck? Oh, because we want border on the top and the bottom of the widget. Sure. Does that look sane? Mask ball. So that looks okay. I don't really like where it is, though. Why is it so close to the top? Have I missed so many messages? No, nothing too crazy. Nothing too crazy. Okay, triangle bounds. This thing, I think we want to, like, think a little harder about where this thing's supposed to go. So X is triangle left, which is the triangle right, which is offset by the item pad. And which item pad are we using here in the combo box? Combo box. Does seem like item pad here is better, huh? It almost seems like we want, like, text pad. It seems like we need both. It feels like we need both. Yeah, kind of feels like that, huh? So for the height calculation of the entire box, we use the text pad here. But for the spacing between the triangle, using the layout pad seems more reasonable. Just kind of hand wavy. So here we use layout pad for both of these. From my understanding, you're making some sort of image editor? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Okay. Yeah, these things can all use layout pad. That makes sense. Yeah, I can give you a quick demo, real quick. Just I'm working. We're kind of like yak shaving a lot. We're using like this is an excuse to make like a GUI framework as well, which is kind of funny. But okay, yeah. So here's the idea of the image editor. I have, let's say we want to composite Miss Lannister on a banister. We can go in here. We could say like, let's make a path around this thing. We're gonna be a little lazy with the path generation for now. But you know, it's something could be something like this. Like that, maybe. Fine. This creates a mask. This mask is applied via some shader where you can we could choose to do something else here, but you know, by default, it will do this. You can like composite this stuff together. So you go in here and you go like, oh, let's add in, what was it? Masked object here. And in here we can do things like rotate and scale her or whatever. Yeah, and then we can add, I think we don't have good Z sorting right now. We'll get there eventually, but if we wanted to like composite her on this banister, we would have to do it. We need to add them in the right order. Right, we can like kind of like sit her over here. Wow, right? Let's we should add scale it, like locked scaling as well. We don't have that yet either. But you know, this is kind of like the idea. We can do things like we can draw on top of this if we want, so we can like do this. And our brushes are actually like user-defined shaders with distance field. So here's like the distance field that's used to generate as like the input to our brushes. And then in here we can do things like we can be like, now that after we've drawn, we can change the width and color of this thing because we have like a typical distance field to work with. Oh geez, this looks like shit now. That's not good. Probably because we changed some of the width and height, the paddings here. We probably need to increase the width or something. I bet we made a mistake there, but we'll deal with that. What else do we have? We have like generation of stuff via arbitrary shaders, right? So here's like a circle shader that's like passed in at runtime where we can kind of generate like, I don't know, something like this if we wanted to, and then we could add that to our composition if we wanted to. Where our composition is like here. UI for like interacting with multiple objects is going to have to change. But this is kind of the idea. We're going to get somewhere more interesting, but this is what we're working on. And we've kind of constructed, we've kind of been like working our way down the stack, trying to make sure that we have like almost no dependencies. So we've kind of been working on our own GUI framework as a part of that thing. Okay, color picker. How is his like width calculated here? He says, I have some width ratio and what am I looking at here? I think somewhere we like split up this thing like this. So we say, give me the preview segment. Okay. Then we find the pointer side. And then the lightness bounds is calculated as like, oh, Jesus Christ. Hexagon bounds here. So we say, give me the left side. The right side will be square with the remaining bounds, sure. So we put the hexagon in a square. Then we try to fit the lightness stuff in there. And why doesn't this work anymore? Because the item pad is probably different now. So if the item pad has increased, then the thing's like not wide enough, which means that this has to be a smaller ratio of the total width, would be my guess. So if I just like decrease that number, does this come back? I didn't mean to put a link in. Oh, it's okay. I don't really mind. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Oh, there we go. Okay, so that looks a little better. I mean, the bar is back now. We just have to be a little bit more careful with the... We just have to be... I guess the fact that this is like needs to be changed in the widget itself is a bit of a problem. A little bit of a problem. Yeah, it's interesting. It's because the padding is too big, actually, to be honest. I think we just don't want this padding here. Like, because now this like handle is really far from the like fucking thing here as well. So what did it look like before, and why was that okay? It was like in the color picker. We were using widget text padding here before instead of the layout pad. And here, let's go back. Yeah, so here it was just that our padding was really small. And interestingly, that kind of looks okay here. I'm actually looking at this, and it kind of feels like the property list, like sorry, this like red, green, blue picker could benefit from being a property list. So I guess we kind of want like we want like padding for like these widgets here, and it's probably gonna be different than the padding for these widgets here, would be my guess. So we probably want like, let's just see what that looks like. We'll call this like hex pad, hexagon pad, like picker pad, preview pad, preview, LM pad is gonna be widget text padding, and this is gonna be layout pad, I guess. And then somebody's gonna use that instead. So that's gonna be in wherever we like create all of these like segments of our widget. You just, instead of using the item pad on the right side of these things, it's gonna be like here, here. I guess that's kind of it. Let's see what that looks like. I'm going to do Zig. What are the compile times compared to Rust with C++? I don't actually know. I don't think I've ever worked on a big enough project for it to be like a problem for me, which means that it's just kind of hard for me to like get a good feel for which one I hate the most. You know? Okay. Okay, so these things are kind of like more spaced out now. Part of me feels like this item pad is too large. Like, what happens if we just fucking, in the widget factory, say, like, layout pad? Like, if we just, like, shrink this? Does that cause any problems anywhere? Or are we just, like, okay with that? Oh, no, it looks like shit. Maybe just for the buttons. Yeah, that pad needs to be bigger. It needs to be bigger. But, like, maybe 2's too big. Like, oh, unit over 2 is maybe too big. Unit over 3? Nah, I mean, even that feels too small, to be honest. Maybe just because of what I'm used to, though. Maybe that is better. Yeah, maybe that's fine. You don't know pain until compiling UE5, but the editor is a critical part of the iteration. Holy shit, dude, that would make me want to, like, lose my mind. I worked, when I was working on that, like, camera firmware I was talking about, the, like, typical workflow of people, when I were like, a very common workflow, was to compile, like, a firmware package, upload it to the camera, reflash the flash on the thing, and then reboot, which would be, like, I don't know, a multiple minute process. Because, like, compression of that thing was pretty, like, it was like a zip file, right? So you just, like, compress the whole firmware image, pack it on, and, like, the boot time was, like, a minute at least. And I was like watching people do, and then like you have like upload time and like extraction time and like firmware upgrade application time. It's just like all this is like, why are we doing this when like all we have to do is like recompile this like fucking one application? So I spent so much time, like a lot of time, fixing like crash bugs when you like, or like de-init bugs in our app, because like nobody had ever like de-initted the app before because they just thought like, why the fuck would you? Because we're just gonna like reboot every time anyways. But it turns out if you like fix that DNet time, you can just like network mount your like host machine and just like hit Control C and then rerun the app. And so you're like, your iteration time goes from like multiple minutes down to like 5 seconds. It was sick. But I spent like so much time on that because like when you're saying like compile UE5 and boot the editor, it's just like, oh my god, dude, I would look so hard for a way around that, like so fucking hard, because it's just like awful. Of course, you have trade-offs there though, right? Because like now all of a sudden, if I write a bug that has like persistent, that like doesn't reveal itself until first boot, I might miss it, right? So there definitely are some trade-offs there. But holy shit, dude, I would do so much work to avoid like long recompiles. It's so frustrating. I mean, I guess you guys can tell too, especially like the way I work. It's very like I don't know what the fuck is happening, and I'll just like kind of poke and prod until I get to the right answer. Sharp isn't wrong about UE editor recompiling being like sticking a finger in your own eye. That's pretty funny. Zig typically compiles faster than heavily templated C++. Yeah, I guess that templated C++ stuff can get pretty out of hand. But I don't know if we like done enough heavy templated Zig programming to know if it's the same. I would imagine that it's similar, but maybe not. Like by templated, I mean like comp time. I don't know. Okay, I kind of like this smaller pad here. Feels pretty good. I do think, I wonder if we could get away now with the widget text padding just being the same. Like, do we actually care if that padding is kind of big? Like, where does that actually come into play? On the combo box? Oh, interesting. This is used on text box. So how's the text box look now? Text box feels fine. I'm not really worried about the padding there. Where is it even used in the text box? Oh, this is used on the left and right side only. Ah, interesting. Ah, so these are we're just using this thing like all over the place just for like different concepts. So let's name these things a little better. Let's call this like horizontal, like horizontal edge pad, I think is a better name for this. And in reality, we should probably clamp the right side here as well. Right? Make label bounds. Oh, but here, okay. So somewhere we have to adjust the label bounds to take that same thing into account, surely. Right? Like, oh, I see. So the label can go forever within the text box. We just clamp it. And I guess it makes sense to clamp it. I guess that actually all kind of makes sense. I'm kind of okay with that. Horizontal edge pad. So it's almost actually like this should be left edge pad. That actually kind of makes sense. Weirdly. It kind of makes sense that the right runoff looks different than the left, because we want the left to always have a border, but if it's longer than the fucking text box width, then we should let it go all the way to the edge, I think. Like, that feels kind of natural to me. Other than the fact that the cursor's off the edge, but like ignoring that. I did write a simple Zig ORM that did query building using comp time and table types, and every SQL statement would return a type that has string representation and sort of builder pattern on comp time. It wasn't noticeably slower. Neat. That's good info. That's pretty sick. Pretty sick. Okay, so now this is just used for text pad on the combo box, left edge pad here, and preview element pad here. I almost feel like this shouldn't be a named thing. I feel like in the combo box, we should just use the layout pad and divide it by 2. Like this. Then the combo box should look okay. Wop. Okay, so then in the combo box, like this looks fine text-wise, I think. The triangle is like way too big now, which is kind of fucking funny. Why is the triangle so big? Oh, because the layout pad shrunk did. I mean, what do we actually want? Maybe we want it to be like half the height or something. Um, does it even do anything? Is it bugged where the width and height of the triangle isn't being applied somewhere? Oh no, that's definitely working. So let's do like over 3. See if that looks better. Really, these should be runtime configurable. It would be kind of sick to like reload this on the fly, but you know, whatever. That looks pretty good. I'll take that. I also think probably the triangle should be centered vertically, probably, but you know, we gotta call it somewhere. Okay, so now we've probably reduced this like widget text padding to be pretty minor. Pretty minor. So I'm kind of okay with just not having this be a common thing anymore. Oh, did we fuck up that color picker again? We might have. Looks fine. It's not great, but it's good enough. Okay. So we'll just get rid of this preview element pad. I think that everything just kind of works out in that case now. I think. Widget text padding now on the left edge pad now is just going to be like. I think that this kind of just fits everywhere now. LLVM emit takes so long. I've heard Zig is moving away from that. Yeah, I think so. I've heard similar. Yeah, okay. That's not bad. And then what happens if we just make the, like, out of curiosity now, if we make the color picker fat, does that cause, like, mega problems? If we call this thing, like, just, like, make it double fat, what happens? Interesting. Because I kind of want to, like, I wanted to try putting this stuff into, like, a property list so that these guys are kind of, like, horizontal. Which means that, like, 2 times is too large. Maybe, like, 1.5 or something. Maybe even, like, 1.3 because the text on the keys is so small. So this is actually, like, what, times, like, this is just, like, times 4 over 3, I guess is the integer way to do that. 1.33, close enough. Yeah, so this stuff would now probably, maybe green's a little large. But that could look okay. Also, is this using the same color background as the fucking this? Oh yeah, it is. Okay. Let's do that. Color picker. Me. I am stressed out because I haven't committed stuff. Also me. What if we just change the features right now instead of getting stuff committed? That moment where he's like, maybe we need a theme editor. Yeah, the Cruiser rides again. Yeah, it does feel kind of close to that. But fuck it. Okay, so somewhere we generate this like pop-up. And in the pop-up, we make overlay stack. Here we go. We generate an overlay widget. This overlay widget is currently using like a typical layout here, but we could replace this red, green, blue part with like a property list. So how would we do that? We'd be like GUI property list action in it with alloc and self shared. What is this thing supposed to get? A property list style. Property list style, probably. Property list style is a const GUI property list style like this. Okay. So we have our property list. We say, let's see. Okay. So we probably want the layout to get this property list. Okay. So now we're chilling there. And now all we have to do is start hucking stuff into this thing. So we have the red label. Okay. Then we have the red drag. Okay. And then we push this stuff into the property list. So we have the red label and the red drag. Okay, something like this. Okay, let's just see what that looks like. Fuck! Widget factory. You should create a SVUI editor in SVUI and achieve the ultimate bootstrap. I mean, that's kind of like what the demo app was initially supposed to be honest, like a little bit, right? Like we did have stuff in here, like we can change the highlight color on the fly. I didn't ever like hook it up to everything, but there was an intent that this thing could be used to like generate like our theming and stuff. I've used a support CSS GUI in Unity. Oh my god, it was so freaking wrong. Yeah, it sounds awful. We need our widget factory. The wherever the fuck we were, the color picker. This thing now has a property list style here. Like this style, and then this thing needs to be propagated here. And then we can pass this in here. And then we just have to make sure that I hope that this was initialized before us. There you go. Wait, did I need to copy anything with that? No, John. All right. Oopsies, wrong thing. Zig build and run sim. Structs and Zig have member functions. Yep. Yeah, they're like C++ structs in a lot of ways. Uh-oh. I see. So the property list tries to fill his parent, I guess, is what we have just learned. That's kind of funny. So that means that the property list, we need to like clamp this shit into like a box that has the right width. Why does the property list do that? Because he wants to give the key as much room as possible. Sure. So I guess we just say that the property list lives inside a box. And we have multiple fill styles here. How does this shit work? Action. Alec. What else does this thing have? Inner. So something like this. Size. And fill style. So it depends on the fill style here. Fill style here. What are my options? Fill width, fill height. So we probably, or fill none. Keep me static size. I guess we want to fill height. I guess fill none. I would kind of want something that like fits me to my child contents. I kind of want none, but I want the height to be allowed to expand however much he wants. I kind of want none of these. Fuck. That's annoying. Maybe the property list. Why does the property list need to fill? Can I just ask him not to? I guess the box is the right place to do this. The box is our way of being like, let me clamp like people who are trying to fill. Let me clamp them. So I guess that means that we need to do something that's like our fill style just needs to be like fit height. I guess. And then here we do something like this. So we actually maybe fill height will do what we want. I think there's a good chance that'll just kind of actually work. Actually, let's try that. Fill height. There's a chance. There's a chance. Pop up width and height is equal 0. It's possible. Fix me error defer prop list, and then we take the box here. I just want to see what that does. There's a chance that works. Fuck! I read so much C++ that it kind of looks like Zig I see here. It makes me want to try it. I'm not sure about typing it, try and defer though. Yeah, that's fair. I could see the argument against it. I think I would argue that the complexity that C++ takes on to get copy and move constructors is worse than the complexity of having to write defer. But I can see the argument the other way as well. I think that it's totally fair to be like, I don't agree. Right. Okay, so that's the problem with that. we can't fill the height. We need to fit the height to the contents and clamp the width. So here we'll add fit height. I think that's fair. Everywhere we use fill height. So when we update this thing, we still allow the thing to use the available size. So update size. So here, I guess we do like, I think that we actually might be able to get away with doing this. We actually probably don't have to track our size here, except for use and update. So if we're in fit, oh, that actually also might fix my problem, actually. I might actually not have to make any changes here to fill height anymore, actually. That might just work. Might just work. There we go. Oh yeah, that's pretty slick. This is kind of what I was looking for. That's kind of what I was looking for. So now we just have to put the green and blue in the property list as well. Color picker, there we go. Okay, so we'll call this label. Label. Call this drag. And then we can copy paste this 3 times. Okay. And then we have red, green, blue. Okay. So color. Green. We need a little bit more width to this thing. Hold on. So it's just that our total color picker width, he needs a bigger, like 5/3. I don't know. I guess that's probably way too big, actually. Now that I think about it. Yeah, that feels way too big. What's the play here? What's the play here? We want like something. So 4/3 is too big, but 5/4. No, 4/3 is too small. 4/3 is too small. 3/2 is probably too big, which means 5 over. We want something that's smaller than this and bigger than 4/3. 5/3 also too big. So this needs to be a bigger number. 9/6 is 3/2, which is we're back to being too small. So double again. Surely 3/2 is just fine, right? Did we try that already? What am I looking for again? Color. Yeah, that's fine. 3/2 is fine. There's a lot more room for the color picker now. This kind of feels too big maybe now. But I don't know what else to do about that. Seems not awful. Yeah, this feels bigger. It just like kind of like, maybe it just feels bigger than it used to. Yeah, I guess it's fine. I think this is nicer than it was before. Like more like all of the space now is like useful, which is kind of big for us, right? Before there was a lot of like unused, like just gap. Now the color picker is bigger, but that's also because the color picker is like, it's just like more useful space. So fuck it. Color picker never be too big. Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think I'm in my head, I'm just like, it looks different, but I think it's probably fine. Yeah, it's fine. There's a little bit of a gap here that I don't think is good. I think this stuff is supposed to be farther over to the right, but I wonder if that's like the property list width is being calculated incorrectly. Probably not. He's just using the available size, so I don't really see a problem with that. And then his value widget is being fucking like clamped right to the right side, so I don't really see how that's a problem. Unless the size of the property list width is different than it's supposed to be. Yeah. I feel like this is supposed to be like this. Does that look a little better? Yeah, that looks way better. Here, now the right side all lines up, which is nice. And then the question is what other property lists might be affected by this? Like this might be affected, but that looks fine. And then we had that color thing. Aha! That explains this now. The fact that these things weren't too close together is because the value width had a item pad baked in and the value widget was centered. So now we can go back to the layout, the property list, and add that like gap between the key and value like we would have expected. Let's make it like something like this. And then probably we need to fix this in like the area calculation as well. So here, this is the available width. Value available is this. Yep. And then the key available is this minus this plus self style item pad. There we go. I think all of that makes this make way more sense. So this is like something that we were confused about earlier in the stream. Now just kind of worked itself out, I think, which is kind of cool. Yeah, now this gap looks good. Yeah, hell yeah. Hell yeah! Is this too close to the edge? Nah. Nah. Alright. Dude, it's 420. Blaze it. Bless up. Shut the fuck up. It's every time. So, we've made a lot of progress. We're definitely not there yet. Definitely not there yet. Hi, Mom. Hi, Mom. Yeah, it's just been spamming this whole time. But we are definitely closer. So I think we call it there for today. I need to pee. I need to eat. So, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed. I know that this was just kind of casual. I ignored chat a lot more than I meant to. I don't think we really did anything crazy. It was just a lot of self-review and slight refactors, slight improvements, but GUI's looking pretty good, man. It's definitely getting somewhere. Definitely getting somewhere. Yeah. I think we will call it there. Thanks for watching. Happy hour VOD viewers later. Twitch viewers, let's raid someone.